On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, that Sonic the Hedgehog spin-off series Knuckles, it's coming in a couple of days, and the first reviews are actually pretty good. Did you know that Transformers 1 and The Wild Robot are opening on the exact same day? Which animated feature will win? Oh, also my speakers are on. Anyway, the original cast of the Blair Witch Project, they're saying they want retroactive payments and to have consulting rights for any future Blair Witch. They have a point in some ways, not in the others. We'll discuss that. And also, how Marvel is going to reestablish its absolute dominance come 2025, as long as they follow these 10 steps. That and a few things more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio, brought to you in part by our friends at the Wellness Company and Liquid IV. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. Not just giving you our opinions, but also giving you some, insight and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different than ours. Joining me in studio today, I got Ray Ora.
Hey.
And we got Jonathan Voico here.
I'm still alive. I'm still here.
And most importantly, we've got you guys here. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. And here's how the show's going to go. We're going to start off by talking about those predetermined topics that I listed off. Then in the second part of the show, we get to the most important stuff, which is taking your live comments and questions. So if you've got a thought, theory, opinion, question, critique, observation that you'd like us to address, and as long as it's appropriate to be addressed on our show, go ahead and use the super chat feature and send that in. They are currently open, at least for the next little. All right, guys. With all that down, let's get into it with this, shall we? The Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise has been one of the more pleasant surprise things for me. I love it, actually, when I don't think a movie's going to do very much and I don't think it's going to be very good. And then I go into it and I end up having a really good time. That is my favorite thing about movie going. And Sonic the Hedgehog was one of those movies that I thought, this is just gone over by it. I had such a good time with it. The sequel was equally as charming and wonderful. And one of the reasons the sequel was quite good was because of Knuckles, voiced by Idris Elba. Again, I didn't think I was going to like the Knuckles character, but completely won me over, especially at the end when he's talking about getting ice cream and everything. I laughed my guts out at that. So then they announced they're doing this Sonic limited 6-episode streaming series. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, I like the Knuckles character. Let's see how it goes. Well, it's coming out in a couple of days, but the first reviews are now coming out, and they're not bad. They're not great, but they're not bad. As of right now, it's holding a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, which again is not bad. And here's what some of the people are saying. This comes from the folks over at CBR who are writing, for the most part, the early reviews are giving praise to Knuckles, while Adrian Reyes, but why though, said the series isn't mandatory to watch. That's a good thing. That it's not mandatory to watch heading into Sonic. Don't try to tie in your TV shows to the movies because that leads to disaster. Anyway, ahead of Sonic 3, it's a fun watch that is worth the investment. As the critics stated, Knuckles isn't a must-watch to prepare for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. However, for fans of Idris Elba's Knuckles and a feel-good TV series, it's definitely worth your time. They go on to say this. Knuckles embraces the silliness of the Sonic universe, and as a result, the creative team behind the spinoff can unleash its wildest ideas, turning the series into a wacky road trip that perfectly balances the fun and feels, said We Got This Covered critic Marco Vito Odo. Also said in a review, Tessa Smith of Mama's Geeky noted, this series is a ton of fun, delivering some hearty laughs, while some truly emotional moments. Now, it's not all sunshine and golden rings for Knuckles. Some people, again, it's got a 70, which means 30% of the critics watching it didn't like it. A couple of those said this. Meanwhile, there's some more negative reviews. Superhero hype critic Luke Y. Thompson said Adam Pally's Wade Whipple, quote unquote, comes across as what he is, a grown man trying to channel a 5-year-old. Pramit from Digital Mafia Talkies said something improvisational acting to the point that its core themes are diluted, making it seem like there wasn't enough material in the script to fuel 6 episodes. All right. one of the first things we should probably point out is that whenever you're going into a movie like Sonic the Hedgehog or a spin-off series called Knuckles, you have to go in understanding it ain't going to be for everybody. It might be for me, it might be for you, but it's not going to be for everybody. And that's understandable. And we shouldn't go in expecting 95, 96, 97%. I think one of the criticisms we heard in there about how this guy just kind of comes across as an adult man trying to channel a 5-year-old child. Listen, to be fair, I picked that up too, just from the trailers. Well, and you pick that up too in the Sonic movies as well. I mean, that is, in a movie franchise that completely charms me, that is probably one of the characters I could do without, to be honest. No criticism on the actor portraying the character. It's just the character. I'm not really big on the character, so I could totally see that. But I'll tell you what, if this show can just deliver a basic baseline, because I ain't going into this looking for Shogun, all right? I'm not going into this looking for Breaking Bad. I'm going into this with some of the same expectations I go into a Sonic movie with. I want you to charm me. I want you to make me laugh. And I just want to have a good time, right? I understand the plot isn't going to be deep. I understand the dialogue isn't going to be the sharpest. And that's okay, and that's fine. I don't need you to be one of the top 10 best shows of the year. If it can deliver that baseline for me, I will walk out happy. Now, I am not the biggest Sonic fan in the room. That title probably goes to Ray as the bigger Sonic. But I'm just curious, are you looking forward to Knuckles? Are you wanting to see Knuckles? And what do you think about the stuff we're hearing about Knuckles right now?
Listen, he's this guy that I forgot the actor's name. He looks like he's gonna be
Adam Pally?
Yeah, he's gonna be pretty good in this series. I'm looking forward to this. I mean, it's something to watch. Like I said, I need all my days filled with at least something to watch. It looks cute. I mean, if you go on Paramount Plus, they have two little small little clips and videos of meeting or introducing Knuckles like he's a real person, like the actors are talking about him. And then another one is the cast doing their best impressions of Knuckles. I find it all charming. I mean, I don't know how I'm gonna hate this. It looks cute. I mean, it's a build up to Sonic 3. I'll watch this. I'm not gonna expect too much, but we'll see how it goes. I think it comes out April 26th, right?
Yeah, so, which is that's in 3 days.
And it's probably all gonna drop at the same time, probably, right? I'm pretty sure.
Is it? I don't know what Paramount's has Paramount mentioned what they're doing with it?
I'll find that out after I get the stuff off my screen. But yeah, well, either way, I'm gonna watch it all. It doesn't seem like a long series, maybe 6 episodes.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, I haven't read this, so I might be wrong, but I'm guessing they're probably gonna be 30-minute episodes.
And just them saying this has nothing to do, or you don't need to watch this before Sonic 3 is perfect. It's like a your choice thing.
It's absolutely perfect, because I'll tell you what, I would have been really nervous for them if they made this Knuckles series and it's like, you gotta watch it because it leads directly into Hedgehog 3, and you're not going to know what's going on in Hedgehog 3 unless you watch the series, because if they do, they totally be screwing themselves, because not a lot of people have Paramount Plus.
And speaking of, just to go back, do you remember when Sonic was first being developed and they had an original look for him?
Yes.
And the backlash?
Yep.
Yeah, I can't believe that. It felt like yesterday that happened.
Oh, it did feel like yesterday. I still don't... Listen, was the new design better? 100%. I'm absolutely on that side. 100% it was. Would it have changed a really good movie into a bad movie if they kept the original design? No. It still would have been fun. It still would have been funny. I still would have liked it.
Do you remember the last time that happened? Or was that the first time that ever happened where there was a backlash against something and they just changed it?
And they changed it?
I mean, they look like they were already in production. Like they filmed already some shots.
Yeah, now, here's the thing. The advantage they had, though, was that it actually wasn't that big of a deal to change the design, because it wasn't like they had to go back in and redo all the Sonic effects, because in 3D animation,
they changed his eyes.
Well, and they changed a number of things about him, right? But here's the thing. In 3D animation, there are different things you do. There's the model. That's what the thing looks like. But then there's, I know everybody's going to giggle, you bone it. You put in the bones, the skeletal structure, and you use that to make your animation. They didn't have to redo any of the animation. All they literally had to do was remake the model and then say, okay, apply this model to the animation. And that's all they really had to do. So it wasn't that big of a process. I'm sure they had to do, I'm oversimplifying it, absolutely. But I honestly can't remember like halfway through a bunch of other things, like halfway through production, that they'd made a change like that. But well, except for Daredevil, but that's not a character design issue. They did that too. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? The initial reviews for Knuckles are pretty positive with some criticisms in there. Have you been looking forward to this series? Do you even like the Sonic franchise? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? 2 animated films are coming that they highlighted at CinemaCon for us and gave us big presentations for both. That is The Wild Robot and Transformers 1. Of course, The Wild Robot with the lead voice of, Lupita, Academy Award winner Lupita Nyong'o. And of course, you got Chris Hemsworth as the new voice of Orion Pax, aka Optimus Prime, in Transformers 1. What was the fact that both of these movies, these animated feature films, are scheduled to open on the exact same day. I believe, and Ray, you can fact check me on this, I think it's September 20th.
September 20th.
September 20th is when both of them are dropping. Now, it is not a big deal for movies to open on the same week. New movies always open on the same week. It's not even a big deal breaker for big movies to both open on the same week, provided they seem to be appealing to different demographics. A great example of this, although an extreme one admittedly, is the Barbenheimer phenomenon, right? Barbie movie and the Oppenheimer movie were clearly targeting 2 different demographics in their marketing, and they both ended up being wild successes. But it's not often that you get a situation where like 2 comic book movies will open on the same day, or 2 disaster movies will open on the same day, or 2 big animated features will open on the same day. So right now, what are we in? We're in April, May, June, July, August, September. We're 5 months away from Transformers 1 and The Wild Robot opening up. So the first question we have to ask is, will one of them move? If they don't move, then the next question, 2 sets of questions. Will one of them move? If so, which one? And then if neither of them move, which one of them wins the opening weekend box office? Okay, so let's address the first question. Will one of them move? My guess is yes.
Oh.
I think one of them will move. I think, listen, they have to understand that Transformers 1 and The Wild Robot is not Barbenheimer, okay? They can't, but they're both going after the family demographic. Now, with Transformers 1, yeah, also some adults with nostalgia looking back at their time with Transformers, sure, absolutely. But the cooler heads have to prevail here, and the heads of both studios have to understand, okay, we can't open these movies on the same day. And I guarantee you there's going to be some phone calls happening saying, tell you what, you move off the date and you tell us a date you really want in 2026, and we'll make sure we move. Anything we got close to that, we'll move a few weeks, or vice versa. Tell you what, you can keep September 20th and we'll move, but hey, in 2027, it's looking like you're targeting this weekend for something and we'd like to put something else there. Can you move that one? Like, I think they'll make a deal and one of them will move. Okay. Which one do I think will move? I think the Wild Robot moves.
Yeah, me too.
Not because I think they're scared of Transformers 1, but I think they just have more flexibility right now. And I think so they'll ultimately be the ones to move, if either of them move. Okay, so let's move on to the other part of the question. Let's say neither one of them moves. And we're literally coming to this battle royale, September 20th, fight to the death between 2 animated family films of Transformers 1 and Wild Robot. Which one wins? Okay. Under normal circumstances, I always vote with Optimus Prime. I mean, that's just a good lesson in life, right? Buy low, sell high, don't live on a fault line, and always vote with Optimus Prime. That tends to be a good lesson in life. But as much as I enjoyed the 10 minutes they showed us or so of Transformers 1 at CinemaCon, I really did enjoy what they showed us. It was really actually pretty fun. And I like the trailer. The Wild Robot is just getting its marketing started, and its marketing is already way better than Transformers 1. And I think as they ramp up the marketing for Wild Robot, I think we're looking at the better film. I haven't seen the totality of either of the films. I've just seen 10 to 15 minutes of each. But it feels to me, I could be wrong, but that The Wild Robot is the better film. And I think if they keep up the marketing with the way they have so far, because those trailers pull on your heartstrings. You watch these trailers. The trailers themselves are these emotional journeys. And I think it will get the upper hand on Transformers 1. And I think it wins. So ultimately, I think one of the moves, probably the Wild Robot moves. But if they don't, and they both decide to play this game of box office chicken with each other, I think the Wild Robot wins. I really do. I think it makes more money. And I can't believe I'm saying that, but I think the Wild Robots beats Transformers. Jonathan, you have any opinion on either of those questions about does one of them move? And if not, which one wins?
Well, I mean, it seems like the obvious choice when one's a recognized IP, the movies are billion-dollar films.
I agree.
But the Wild Robot looks like it's something people are going to come out as a family to. And unfortunately, Transformers has had a bit of a bad reputation lately. So I don't know. Is this the kind of Transformers people are looking forward to, though? That's my question.
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't think anybody's really looking forward to any Transformers.
That's my point.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, losers like me might be. But, I mean, I think it showed us, like, Beast Wars proved us, like, people are not aching to get out to see Transformers anymore.
Also,
they've taken a dip. And
thanks, Michael Bay.
Yeah, but my vote would go to probably the Wild Robot.
Let's not forget, though, what we saw in the CinemaCon. There was a heavy part where we put on 3D glasses. I don't know if that's going to shy people away. Or bring people.
It might push people further away.
But here's the thing.
For Transformers 1.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm going to watch both. What's crazy about the weekend is you get 2 days, especially if you get off work like at Friday, like in the afternoon. Then you got all that time from Friday afternoon to Sunday. I'm going to watch both. What's crazy is I'm going to watch the Wild Robot probably first.
Yeah.
Just because I have a feeling that one's going to pull at the heartstrings, and I need either something really bad afterwards or really fun afterwards to cleanse it off. So I'm going to watch both. I hope both do well. I mean, I love robots. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a good day or a good weekend in the theater.
Yeah, I'm going to 100%. I'm probably going to go see both on the same day. Like, I'm looking forward to both of these. I just think Wild Robot's got the edge. Guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? Right now, we got Transformers 1 and the Wild Robot scheduled to come out on the same day on September 20th. Does one of them move? And if they don't, which one do you think wins the box office that weekend? Whatever you guys think, jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we still got to talk about the original cast of the Blair Witch Project wants money. And on top of that, we're going to talk about Marvel. They're in a shaky state right now, but they can absolutely come back to reestablish their dominance in 2025. We're going to talk about how they do that. But before we do, we're going to hear from one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at The Wellness Company. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Wellness Company. Okay, so you wake up with a scratchy throat, congestion, runny nose, and cough. You know your body. You know you're getting sick. So your choices are tough it out, get sick and take time off work, or hope the doctor can see you this month, or wait 2 hours at urgent care and sit in a room full of sick people, or open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to the doctor-recommended prescription. Start on the right meds and nip this in the bud now. Your medical emergency kit is not a first aid kit. It comes with doctor-prescribed meds to treat over 39 medical issues. Strong antibiotics for infections of all types, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, bronchitis, and so much more. Plus, a doctor's easy guide so you'll know know exactly what to take and when. There's no waiting to see the doctor, no waiting at the pharmacy. It's all in here. Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit. Order yours online in just minutes. Your kit will be rushed right to your door, and you can get 15% off at twc.health/Campea and use promo code Campea when you check out. That's promo code Campea at twc.health/Campea. And thank you to our friends at the Wellness Company for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's talk about this, shall we? I still remember ages ago when the Blair Witch Project came out. Like, it was something that's been overdone to death now, but at the time was very fresh. This idea of a found footage movie about some kids went missing in the woods, but then they found this camera, and this is all that we got left of them. I mean, it's a brilliant idea. Directed by Eduardo Sanchez, and it was like phenomenal for what it was. I mean, a lot of it's become the in thing to kind of poo-poo on the Blair Witch Project these days. But the original one was very original at the time and a lot of fun in the movie theaters. Blair Witch 2 was a total disaster, and everything they've tried has gone on. Anyway, recently there was an announcement made that they are going to reboot the Blair Witch Project. I think this is a property that's prime for a reboot, to be honest with you, if you can do it in a new, fresh way. But that, of course, has got people now popping their heads up and saying, I want money. Particularly the three actors from the original movie. This comes us from Variety. Headline reading, the Blair Witch Project cast asks Lionsgate for retroactive residuals and meaningful consultation on future projects. I actually what the article has to say. Heather Donahue, Joshua Leonard, and Michael Williams, stars of the seminal horror film The Blair Witch Project, released a public letter to Lionsgate on Saturday. By the way, Lionsgate didn't make the original Blair Witch Project. They bought the rights to the property much later on, but at any rate, released a public letter to Lionsgate on Saturday asking for more robust compensation for their work on the 1999 blockbuster, as well as quote-unquote meaningful consultation on any future Blair Witch projects that use their name or likeness. The statement comes 10 days after Lionsgate and Blumhouse announced that they plan to revive the franchise with a new movie that would provide, in the words of Lionsgate Motion Picture Group Chair Adam Fogelson, new vision for Blair Witch that will reintroduce this horror classic for a new generation. Lionsgate did not produce or distribute the original 1999 film. It acquired the property through its 2003 buyout of independent films distributor Artisan Entertainment. Now, this is where it starts to get into the money stuff, okay? Lionsgate Blumhouse announcement sparked a strongly worded response via social media from Leonard, who said that no one had contacted him. No one needed to contact you. Anyway, nobody had contacted him or his co-stars about the project in advance. At this point, it's 25 years of disrespect from the folks who've pocketed the lion's share, pun intended, of the profits from our work, and that feels both icky and classless. Leonard said that the actors who shot and improvised the independent movie roughly over a week, they worked for a week on this movie, roughly a week on a shoestring budget using their real names for their characters, each made $300,000 from a buyout of their ownership points on the film, which went on to gross $248 million worldwide. In 2002, the actors sued Artisan Entertainment for using their names and likeness in the studio's 2000 sequel, The Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which was horrible. Okay. I always worry about getting myself in trouble, because I have a lot of friends who are actors, and I always worry about getting myself in trouble with them. But most of my actor friends say I usually treat this fairly. But I have some thoughts. Probably won't be popular ones, but I have thoughts nonetheless. What entitles these three individuals, who, by the way, I really liked in Blair Witch, very much, but you, as unknown actors, you got a gig to go be in this little film that nobody in the world knew was going to blow up. Like, nobody in the world shooting this over the course of 1 week, shooting on a Sony, Jonathan, you'll appreciate this, a Sony VX1000 mini DV tape camera.
Dang.
You bring that into the woods, you crazy?
You're nuts. You know how expensive those cameras were at that time? It was the first semi-pro camera I ever owned, the little Sony VX1000 with the mini DV tape.
Almost kind of like prosumer, you know?
Yes, absolutely prosumer.
Yeah.
But I remember I had that and I saw that they used that in the movie. Like, wow, the Sony VX1000. Anyway. And it ended up being a bigger hit than whatever. And here's one of the key things in this write-up here is, go back to this for a second. They each made $300,000 from a buyout of their ownership points.
Not too shabby.
They chose to sell their ownership points.
Yeah.
They chose to sell their ownership points for $300,000
On a film which its
that
budget,
they worked 1 week on.
1 week and its budget was $60,000. It reminds me of the Chris Rock joke. Blair Witch Project's budget was $60,000. Somebody's walking around with $59,000 in their pocket.
I love that. So for 1 week's work, you ended up walking away with $300,000. All right. That's the business.
Yeah.
Now, I know people say that's not a good comparison, John. It absolutely is a good comparison. This is 100% accurate comparison. But if you hire like a construction guy, a carpenter guy, and say, hey, I'm opening a restaurant with 2 tables each, just 2 tables in my restaurant. I need 8 chairs. And can you build me 8 chairs? And the contractor says, sure, I can build you 8 chairs. They're great chairs. They're beautiful chairs. People will love the chairs. Fantastic. I'll pay you $1,000 per chair. Guy says, great. I love working for $1,000 per chair. So he makes the 8 chairs. Restaurant owner gives him $8,000. Transaction done. But out of nowhere, this little 2-table restaurant, it just blows up.
This sounds like a Seinfeld episode.
It does sound like a Seinfeld episode. And all of a sudden, this little 2-table restaurant is making $100,000 a week in profit.
Well, here comes the table maker.
Here comes the chair maker.
The chair
saying,
maker.
I made the tables.
Yeah.
the tables.
Yeah. And he's pointing at you like this.
You can't, your customers can't eat there with no place to sit. I made you the chairs and you're making $100,000 a week. I want $10,000 per chair. It's like, no, you saw that this was the job. You agreed to do the job for that much. Our business is concluded. But you're still profiting from my chairs that I made. Yes, that's why I paid you. That's why I paid you $1,000. And guess what? If my restaurant had gone out of business on the first month, would you have given me my money back?
Yes.
Sure, I would have.
Pay me.
I can't have you paying me $1,000 for a chair if your restaurant didn't work. But no, seriously, would the chair builder come back to the restaurant guy and say, "Oh, I feel bad for you that your restaurant failed. Here, take your $8,000 back." No. Now, I look, I get it. You were in this little movie and it went on to make almost $250 million. That's huge. But you agreed to be in it. You got paid, and then your ownership points, you accepted a deal where you took $300,000 each. I'm sorry, you're not owed anything. What is it Rob always says? You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate for. Well, that's what you negotiated for. They don't owe you nothing. I don't care how strongly worded of a message you put out on social media. Somebody else took a financial risk. And a lot of times those financial risks fail, and they just have to eat the losses. But sometimes they work out, and that's the reward for taking the risk. Now, the part where I do think they have a good point, though, is in this paragraph in Variety where they write this. They also ask for quote-unquote meaningful consultation on any future Blair Witch reboot, sequel, prequel, toy, game, ride, escape room, etc., in which one could reasonably assume that Heather, Michael, and Josh's names and or likeness will be associated for promotional purposes in the public sphere. Yeah. On this, I 100% agree with them. Yeah. Like when the company, when Artisan, before Lionsgate took over the property, when Artisan made Blair Witch 2, they clearly used their images and likeness and names and stuff like that to promote the movie without giving them any compensation for doing that. And that was unfair. And I think it's totally reasonable that if Lionsgate, and Lionsgate isn't saying that they will, but all they're saying is if Lionsgate decides to use our image to promote and market future installments of Blair Witch, we're just asking that we be consulted and have some negotiating power to be compensated for that. That is 100% fair.
Yep.
And that is something, I'll go one step further. It's something that Lionsgate probably should have been responsible to reach out to these actors first and say, hey, we're going to do a new thing. We might want to use your image and stuff like that in some of the promotion. They should have probably preemptively reached out to these people for that. So on that part, I think they're totally right and totally fair. I just don't agree with them at all that they deserve more compensation. You did 1 week's worth of work. You were 3 actors who nobody had ever heard of. You ended up making $300,000 for 1 week of work. And that's what you negotiated.
Yeah. If they negotiated producer rights or ownership rights and they didn't get their money, I'd be like, dude, come on. You're giving these people.
Yeah. If this was a case of, hey, like the Scarlett Johansson case against Disney. If this was a situation where these actors said, hey, we had a deal and you're not following through on the deal, that's totally different. Because that was the situation with Scarlett Johansson against Disney. They had a contract.
Yeah.
Right? She had terms in the contract that Disney was forfeiting on and not paying her money. And that's totally understandable. That wasn't the case here. So I don't know. I mean, I hope this resolves itself in a way that everybody ends up happy. But I mean, I don't know. Whenever money's being made, there's always somebody who thinks they're owed some of it. But anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this particular story? Do you think that the actors in the original Blair Witch deserve more money? Do you believe that Lionsgate owes it to them if they use their image and for promotional purposes of their new franchise, that they should include some discussions with those original actors? Maybe you don't agree with that. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, the new Deadpool and Wolverine trailer just dropped. And obviously, that is something everybody is now talking about. I think just on Ryan Reynolds' YouTube channel alone, just Ryan Reynolds' YouTube channel, because it's on a number of official channels, but on Ryan's channel, in 24 hours, it got over 21 million views. So I don't know how much the total is when you start incorporating in all the official channels and stuff like that. But just on Ryan's channel, 21 million views. Tell me again, remember we had some people writing in yesterday saying Deadpool's not going to make any money, it's going to flop. Tell me again how this thing's going to flop. Anyway.
Someone yesterday said, oh, this is the definition of try hard. It's kind of cringe. I'm like, what would you like them to do? Not try? That's the definition of hipster. Just knock it off.
Yeah, I know. I know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
you're the guy that you're the guy that talks a lot at the parties and everybody hears, but no one's listening.
Nobody's listening. So it's brought Marvel back up to the forefront of the conversation. And again, listen, I've had a number of people accuse me over the past year or so that I'm a Disney hater. There are aspects of Disney I definitely hate. I'm not going to lie. I could, I almost on a daily basis think to myself, Disney can go fuck themselves. But I am not a Marvel hater.
No, I know.
I love Marvel films.
By the way, I looked it up and it off of Google, 365 million views of Deadpool and Wolverine, most watched movie trailer of all time. 365 million. That's
really
the aggregate. Yeah.
Huh.
That's Hollywood Reporter. So that's not just nobody.
So Hollywood Reporter is saying it is now the highest viewed trailer of all time.
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
It's billion, baby.
There you go.
Deadpool and Wolverine, most watched movie trailer of all time with 365 million views. Well, I'm going to have to talk about that a little bit later. When did that story drop?
Let me look.
Does it got a timestamp on it? Anyway, I'll move on as
1:05 p.m. So
yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. What's that, Ray?
Not only do people think you're a Disney hater, but there's also a half that think you're a Disney shill.
Oh,
So I'm like, make up your mind.
I know.
Make up your mind.
If I had a nickel for every time I literally opened up comments where one comment says, "You're such a Disney sellout," and the next thing, "Why are you such a Disney hater?" If I had a nickel for every time that happened. But listen, I'm a big Bob Iger fan. There's a lot of things about Marvel that I really like. But as a Marvel fan, the last couple of years, I've just been calling it like I see it. Marvel, while putting out some fantastic stuff in the last couple of years, they've put out more mediocre to bad stuff than they have in the previous 13 years. They're in a decline. And I think we can all agree with that. Like, whether you think they've declined only 2% or whether you think they've declined 80%, I think we can all agree that since Endgame, they've taken a bit of a decline. Can we at least agree on that without getting into a big fight?
Can we also agree that we're probably comparing it to the greatest era in comic book history? Probably
100% we are.
Yeah, you're coming off.
Are.
Yeah.
But a decline is a decline.
Yeah, a decline is a decline.
Like, I would rather have Marvel's decline than the peak of the DCEU.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm a DCEU
Don't bring
fan.
him in here.
I'm just saying.
Don't open the door.
I'm just saying. I'm a fan of that too.
I mean, the peak of the DCEU, let's face it, was Comic-Con when they announced all the movies.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Marvel could learn a thing or two from DC
They had
about
big
how to put on
yes,
good, how to put on
100%.
good Comic-Con presentations,
Yes.
man. Anyway, so it got me to thinking about, Bob Iger is now back. Kevin Feige has his authority again. Can Marvel get back to that place of dominance? Can Marvel get back to that place where, and I've said this before, but it used to be a new Marvel movie is coming out. I went in expecting to have an amazing time because they were putting out banger after banger after banger. Okay. I would go into Marvel films expecting an amazing time. Today, when a Marvel film comes out, I go in hoping I just have a good time. I've gone from expecting amazing to hoping for good. And that is a deterioration of where they used to be. So how can they get back to this place of dominance? How can they reestablish themselves as the king of the mountain? I got 10 steps that they need to follow. Kevin, I hope you're listening. Because I'm the guy. Because I'm clearly the guy he should listen to.
Special K.
And he's looking at you
Special
just like
K.
that. He's like, give me your damn 10
Is that our
steps.
new nickname for Feige?
Special
Special K? Listen up, Special K. I'm going to drop some knowledge on you, son. All right. Listen, I'm going to start with the most obvious one, just to get it out of the way, because this is clearly the most obvious one. Step one to reestablishing Marvel's dominance come 2025 is simply this. Number one, make better product. It's as complicated and as simple as that. When you put out a movie, or in some cases a Disney Plus series, make damn sure it is the top quality it can be. I understand that under Chapek, I mean, you've come out and said under Chapek, they just said, screw it, just rush out as much shit as you can. I understand that, but you don't have that excuse anymore. Because you got Papa Iger is back and he's got your back, so you don't have that excuse anymore. The number one clear, obvious, this is why we're making it number one and getting it out of the way first is make better product. Because when you sit in a screening room watching dailies of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, you're looking at garbage. So stop. Take it back to the drawing board, reset, and re-go. All right. Not everything is going to be Winter Soldier. I understand that. Not everything is going to be, Shang-Chi. Not everything is going to be Infinity War. I understand that. That's fine. The middling Marvel films are still really good. The first Doctor Strange, the first Ant-Man, the first Captain Marvel. I mean, these are still good, solid films. Sometimes you're going to make them amazing. Sometimes you just make them good and solid, but you know damn well when you're looking at something bad. Don't accept something bad anymore. Make better product. All right. That's the first thing they need to do that we all know. Everybody knows that. Let's get into some more finer points. Number two, manage output. This is another thing. I'm trying to put the more obvious ones up front here. But again, what we found out, because Marvel executives have come out and made it public that under Bob Chapek, they had a new mandate. Make as much as you can, as fast as you can, and shove it out the door as quickly as you can. right? They need to do exactly what Bob Iger said they were going to do. We're going to reel back in how much we produce. That doesn't mean make one thing a year, but this whole thing of trying to get 4 movies and 4 Disney Plus series all out in the same year, that can't be the mentality. Because the more you make, the more diluted your output is going to be. I don't care how brilliant Kevin Feige is. He can only oversee and manage and keep a tight grip on so many things at once.
Yeah.
And the more you go outside of that,
yeah,
you're starting to spread yourself thin.
You mentioned the other day when we were talking about Sam Raimi and his comments on Sam Raimi saying, I need a guy I can trust. Okay, on one hand, to your point at that time, that was showcasing Raimi's abilities. At the same time, when he said those words, he was underwater, Feige. So.
It just showed that they could not run. Feige could not run Marvel the way he used to run Marvel when it was in its glory days.
Yeah.
Which is, hey, listen, Kevin Feige is the biggest control freak in Hollywood. He's the number one studio that has interference is Marvel by Kevin Feige, but that's what made Marvel great. Mm-hmm. And he's got to be able to manage the amount of output so he can properly oversee it and properly run it. All right, so step 1, make better products. Step 2, manage output. Third step, make movies your number one priority. Now listen, as much as I absolutely love WandaVision, I do. I still think it's the best thing Marvel's put out on Disney+. The reality is, I don't believe it's coincidental that the downturn in the overall quality of the MCU product started when they started making Disney Plus shows. And I'm not saying don't make Disney Plus shows, okay? I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying make your feature films your number one priority. Make sure the lion's share of your energy, effort, finances, and focus is on your movies, because the health and well-being of the MCU rests on the back, not of your Disney Plus shows, but of your theatrical feature films. Mm-hmm. The stronger they are, the stronger everything in the MCU will be. The weaker they are, the weaker everything in the MCU would be. So get back to making movies your number one priority. Not ignoring Disney Plus, not tossing your Disney Plus shows, but just make sure you got your priorities damn straight and that your feature films are your number one priority.
It became a bit of a wag the dog situation.
Yes, that's a good comparison, actually. All right. Make better product, manage your output, make movies number one priority. Number 4, make Disney Plus shows standalone stories. Now, a couple of them have done this, right? They have done this. For example, Moon Knight. I ended up being kind of disappointed with Moon Knight, but what Moon Knight truly was, it was insular, right? It was a standalone story. Where they really make mistakes was, say, something like the Marvels, where you're taking characters from Disney Plus shows and now just trying to make a feature film out of them. It's like, yeah, the audience recognized Captain Marvel, but clearly Captain Marvel was only 1/3 of the leads of this film. And the other 2, the trailers make us feel like we're supposed to know who they are, and I have no idea who they are. Why on earth am I going to go see this movie? Stop trying to make Disney Plus and the movies interchangeable and mandatory for each other. Yeah, I mean, we don't have a wide selection palette to make that equation from, but I think it's enough. The Marvels proved it's a disastrous combination.
It felt like for a little bit that they're trying to use the Disney Plus shows to get people into theaters when it should be reversed. It should be the movies that make you want to watch Disney Plus show, the Disney Plus show.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right.
Wow. Really?
And
well, that's how the excitement of the Disney Plus shows started. Obviously,
Yes.
the MCU launched it all, and then they were like, and they're gonna have these other these series, and we thought, oh, but different actors, right? We literally thought it wouldn't actually be the actors from the movies. Oh no, it's gonna be them too. So we all got excited. But
yeah,
then,
and here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem with that. It used to be the key, the single biggest key to the success of the MCU for its first 10, 15 years was the fact that Kevin Feige made sure that every new Marvel movie was a valid entry point for a brand new fan.
right.
I told the story. I had a friend, you guys know her, watched the very first Marvel film they watched was Infinity War. They didn't feel lost at all. Clearly they missed some of the nuance, but they totally understood what was basically going on, totally felt good. Somebody could walk into Guardians of the Galaxy, watch that, having never seen another MCU before. And so because every single project that Kevin Feige did in Marvel, even though they were interconnected, he made sure every new movie was a valid entry point for a brand new viewer. And so the MCU grew and grew and grew and grew because people could jump on at any time. The moment where I really recognized that they had fallen away from that was Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Because it's like anybody who hasn't seen WandaVision is going to be totally lost. It's going to feel so random and out of nowhere. It's like, wait a minute, Wanda's a bad guy? What? And this whole idea of trying to tie in everything with Disney Plus on the TV side, which not everybody is watching, with your theatrical films, which should be your main impetus and your number one priority, it's a recipe for disaster. I believe they need to make Disney Plus shows standalone stories. Reference the larger MCU like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. used to do. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was completely isolated from the MCU, but they would often reference the MCU to make you feel at home.
Sure.
Do that. That's fine. Just don't do this Marvel's bullshit again where it's all of a sudden now it's Deadpool and Moon Knight. It's like everybody's going to go, who the hell's Moon Knight? Well, it was a Disney Plus show. You got to make sure you go watch it. So now you're giving me homework I have to do before I go to see your movie. That's a recipe for failure. So 1, make better product. 2, manage output. 3, make movies number one priority. 4, make Disney Plus shows standalone stories. And 5, hire writers who are fresh voices or at least have better track records. Now, I know it's not Marvel, okay? But let's take a breath and hold up as an example the glory that is known as Madam Web. We should have all known. We should have all known that going into Madam Web, it would be a disaster because all you had to do was look at who was writing it. The creators of Gods of Egypt. What were some of the other ones that those guys wrote?
Oh crap!
Like one of the Dracula movies, and like some of the truly worst cinema did Madam Web, which led us to write, what are we doing? Sony, like, do you even care if this movie's any good? You can't, like, a good chef will always say it starts with good ingredients, right?
Oh, they wrote Morbius.
Oh yeah, also the writers of Morbius. And what was some of the other ones?
Power Rangers.
Right, which I didn't hate.
I didn't hate either.
That was like one of the ones we felt like, well, that's sort of a win.
Dracula Untold.
Yeah, Dracula Untold.
The last
Dracula shouldn't have been
The
told.
last Witch Hunter was just so bad. Basically, look, all you had to do, like, it just makes us question whether Sony was even going to try to make the movie any good. If you start with bad ingredients, you're going to end up with a bad burger.
Here's a funny thing. Their best thing that they wrote was Lost in Space, the TV series.
That is the best thing they wrote, and that was actually pretty good.
Maybe they should have went to Disney Plus and wrote those shows.
Oh.
Instead, I don't know.
But it just creates an example of, listen, it's okay to go out and get new voices, new writers, fresh writers, as long as Kevin Feige himself clearly lays out the direction he wants the movie to go and then works closely with them. If that happens, bring in new, fresh writers, or if you want more experienced writers, they don't have to all be Academy Award winners. Just make sure they have better track records, because if you start with a bad script, it's going to be really hard. I don't care if it's Ryan Coogler directing it. If you start with a bad script, it's going to be hard to end up with a good movie. So make sure you focus on that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Number 6, reestablish Marvel movies as to be back in the day, like 2017, when a new Marvel movie was coming out. It is something we circled on our calendars. It's something we counted. It's like we had little Christmas Advent. Did any of you guys have this at home? Your parents would put up a calendar on the wall and a little candy on each day leading up to Christmas. And each day you'd wake up and you'd take the candy and eat it because you see you're one day closer to Christmas. That was what it was like when a new Marvel movie was coming out. It was an event. It meant something. It was big. It was culturally relevant. That doesn't happen anymore. Now it's just next chapter in the MCU. Next chapter in the MCU. It's like watching or missing 1 or 2 episodes of a show.
And here's 40 more characters you're never going to follow again.
You're never going to follow again and that you've never heard of and we don't know if we'll revisit. My God, they put out Shang-Chi. That movie's amazing. It's been 3 years. We haven't seen hide nor hair of the character again.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? But reestablish, get back to think that when you're putting out a Marvel movie, let the public feel that you think it's big and important. And they just haven't done that.
And one of the biggest problems is it's a feeling that I think all of us have been missing for quite a while is after the Marvel movie finishes, we're excited to see the next one. That feeling is not there anymore. And that makes the next one an event for us, at least. Oh, when
that ties it into point number 1, right? Make better product, because this is all connected to each other that way.
When the last time that happened was like Infinity War, when it ended, I was like, oh, that's a feeling of, oh, I need more. I need to see the end. That's what's been missing a lot, or at least for me. Like the feeling of what's next. I'm not asking what's next anymore.
No, and again, that goes back to one of the other things about making sure your product is better. All right, so reestablish Marvel movies as events. Number 7, prioritize quality, but don't leave out interconnectedness. Now, one of the big criticisms that has been around about the Marvel movies the last number of years is, Rob will bring this up a lot, saying, I don't even know what the story of the MCU is right now.
Yeah.
Like in the first 15 films, you knew what the basic story of the MCU was. Since Endgame, nobody has any idea what the basic story of the MCU is. It's called the multiverse saga. Yeah, but they've never defined what is the multiverse saga. We don't know how this connects to anything else. Now, I've always said that doesn't matter to me as much as long as you make the movies really good. Like, I couldn't tell you at all how Shang-Chi really connects into anything else in the MCU, but the movie was great, so that's the most important thing. But they have completely ignored that interconnectedness. The thing that made the cinematic universe a cinematic universe. So while I 100% want them to focus, number 1 priority, making the movie as good as it can be, don't ignore that interconnectedness. Mm-hmm. It's the thing that not only makes the movies feel, but it makes we as the audience feel like it's a part of something bigger. And to your point, Ray, when you have, number 1, make better product, and number 7, prioritize quality, but don't leave out your interconnectedness, that helps increase our anticipation about what might come next. Because since Endgame, we watch one movie and the next movie's coming out, we have no idea if there's anything even remotely connecting them together. Again, prioritize quality, but stop ignoring the interconnectedness at the same time. All right. Number 8 is something I've mentioned a couple of times. Balance out old and new characters. Because since Endgame, it's kind of felt like, while we have had Thor, Love and Thunder, it's kind of felt like a desperate rush to bring in a whole new slate of characters. You know what it's felt like? That 1986 Transformers animated movie where they just killed all of the Autobots and Decepticons in the first 10 minutes and then replaced them all with a whole new set of Transformers.
Called a good start.
God, I hated that movie so much. I am still angry to this day about that goddamn movie, making all the toys that I spent years collecting suddenly irrelevant.
That was a cynical toy company. Like, what can we do to sell new ones?
Not Hot Rod and Rodimus Prime, Ultra Magnus. That was it. It's like, well, you better throw away your Transformers, your Optimus Prime toy now. You got to get Ultra Magnus. Ultra, fuck you. I spent my entire childhood collecting these toys, and you killed them all off in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Screw you, Hasbro. Anyway, can you tell I still have issues to work through about that 1986 Transformers movie?
That felt like a Spaceballs comment right there. Ultra,
fuck you. I'm cup. What the fuck is a cup? I don't know. Anyway, yes, I still have to deal with this. I should go seek some therapy on this. At any rate.
Or we'll buy you those toys again.
John, relax. I'll buy you the toys again. So, Here's the thing. I get it that Tony died and Cap is now old man Cap. Okay. But you've got to balance out your OG. Well, John, they made Hawkeye. Yeah, but they made Hawkeye to replace Hawkeye. You got to balance out. Right, I said this the other day. It's like a good sports team. You got to have a locker room that's a mix of the new young guns and the older vets.
Yeah, you got the vets.
So do you think they could do better if let's say a role, they want to kill off a role, they want to introduce someone else. You think they could do better in the handshake of handing over something, right? Because they
I'm going to stop you right there.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to stop there because we're going to get that. So just balance out the older characters with the newer characters. Don't just have 7 new movies with all new characters and stuff like that in a row. Make sure we're putting in a lot of the OG stuff. Anyway. All right. Number 9. So we're heading into the final couple ones here. Kill off characters to raise the stakes. Now, to be fair, a lot of people might be saying, John, you're constantly saying that they're going to bring back Tony and Steve. Yeah, they will, because they are the heart and the soul of the MCU. At some point, they're going to come back, probably in Secret Wars. Maybe just for a film, maybe just for 2 or 3 films. I don't know, but at some point, they will probably come back. But again, one of my biggest criticisms, even in the greatest glory days of the MCU, has been it's the Marvel fake death universe. They never actually killed anybody off. The only time they've done it was Quicksilver, but I never felt that death because I never believed he was actually going to be dead because Marvel, that's the problem. When you spend so many of your movies fake deathing everybody, when somebody actually does die, you don't feel it because you don't actually believe they're gone. But they actually did stick with it with Quicksilver. I'll give them that.
I guess and Black Widow, but I feel like her lawyers finished that one. That was the coup d'etat.
Yeah. I'll give them Black Lawyer. I'll give them Black Widow. Next, from Kevin Feige, Black Lawyer, coming to a theater near you. So,
the Dark Justice, bringing Dark Justice to the courtroom. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
Let's move on.
So, I mean, all I can think about now is Seinfeld's lawyer in the finale of Seinfeld. He's so great. So like with Black Widow was kind of like Black Widow was an OG. It went all the way through, and then they did a prequel. That one kind of worked. I would say, like, even do the Quicksilver thing a couple of times. Introduce a new character. Maybe even in the first movie they're in, maybe the second movie they're in. Actually, you don't have to do 7 or 8 of them. Just 1 or 2. Do some significant deaths in the MCU to raise the stakes. Because I'll tell you what, I've told this story before for you guys who've been watching the show. You know, in Infinity War, while during the big end scene when everybody's getting dusted, and people were wailing and crying in the theaters, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark.
Oh, boy.
And everyone was crying. And
I declare.
Yeah,
that's
what he sounded like. I don't want to go, Mr. Stark.
I do declare I'm Dustin.
I do declare like molasses in your mouth.
There's been a murder.
There's been a murder.
Okay, off the rails. Let's go.
We're going into the office way too much. So the problem, like, while that was all happening, well, I thought the scenes were really good. Yeah, I just know they're all coming back. Like, yeah, Peter's going to be back. T'Challa's going to be back.
Peter
Everybody's
Parker.
disappointed. Winter Soldier's going to be back. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. So I didn't feel it at all. That's the consequence. When you constantly fake death people, you don't even really feel it. So if you do a couple, come out swinging 2025, 2026, come out swinging, have a couple of significant deaths and keep them dead, it raises the stakes. So the next time you do a fake death, maybe it hits people like a surprise. But anyway. All right. So off of kill off characters to raise the stakes, we go into this. Diversify and take chances. I talked about this a little bit the other day on the show. We as film fans will tell studios we want them to take risks, but then we will crucify studios when they take a risk and it didn't work, like it turns out badly.
Mm-hmm.
The whole premise, the whole definition of taking a risk is you are risking it not going well, right? Otherwise, it's not a risk. I don't want Kevin Feige and Marvel to be scared off. They've had a couple of drop balls in the last couple of years, for sure. But I don't want them to get scared of taking risks. Even when we as fans lose our shit, when they do what we ask them to do, take a risk, and then it turns out to be crap, and then we crucify them for taking the risk. I mean, call a crap movie, but I want you to still take in big swings. I still want you to point to the fences and aim for the stars and take big shots. You take big shots, you're going to lose. You're going to miss shots. You try to hit a home run, you're going to strike out more. But we want you to do that once in a while. And one of the things Marvel always did really good in the early days is diversified their storytelling. All the movies were different from each other. One movie, like the first Ant-Man, was like a heist movie. Winter Soldier was like a 70s political thriller. Ant-Man 2 was really more like a comedy. Yet Doctor Strange started to toy with the horror element a little bit. Every movie kind of had its own kind of subgenre. They diversified it up. And when I speak of diversity, I mean that in representation too. Continue to diversify your storytelling. Have more movies with black characters. Have more movies with Asian characters. Have more movies with female leads, because it's shown that people like diversity. I mean, don't go out and I still don't know why they're doing Ironheart. I never heard a single person in the world ask for an Ironheart thing. So maybe different characters. Still be wise and selective about which stories and which characters you're going to do it with, but don't stop diversifying your storytelling. Don't stop diversifying your representation. Don't stop swinging for the fences. And we as audiences will try to work on we'll give you a hard time when you make a bad movie. Yes, but we won't give you a hard time for taking a risk. And if they can do those things, if we go back to this, number 1, make better product overall. Number 2, manage your output. Number 3, make movies the number 1 priority. Number 4, make Disney Plus shows standalone stories. Number 5, hire writers who are fresh voices or at least have better track records. Number 6, reestablish Marvel movies as events. Number 7, prioritize quality, but don't leave out the interconnectedness. Number 8, remember to balance the old and the new characters. Number 9, kill off characters to raise the stakes. And number 10, diversify with your stories and your representation and take chances. If they can do these things, and that's a big if. In 2025, well, first of all, in 2024, we got Deadpool and Wolverine, which gives them a golden opportunity to really kickstart again. Then in 2025, we've got Captain America, Brave New World. We got Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Blade. Allegedly, we're getting Blade. If they can do these things, they can reestablish themselves as the most powerful force in the movie business. If they don't, then we're going to continue to see a decline.
And then can I add one last little thing? Even beyond 2025, I think Marvel, if they want to introduce a character to us, they really want to make something. Don't be afraid to do a one-off like they did with the monster movie, the werewolf. What was that? Werewolf by Night.
Well, they're actually backing away from those now, but I loved that.
But
I love the one-shot stories.
Just because if they this character that they want, they feel they want to introduce to the world doesn't fit in their universe, don't be afraid just to make a one-off. If it's really that important, this character's that, and then maybe find a way later on. You know what I mean? Don't be afraid to, don't always feel like everything has to be connected, because we got to care about characters first.
Yeah.
And by the way, to all the losers already crying about this, when I say diversity and representation, I'm not saying stop making movies with white guys in it. I'm just saying, make sure you don't get into the habit of what Hollywood has done for over 100 years, which is purposely excluding other representation. Stop excluding black characters from the movies. Stop excluding female characters from the movies. Stop this 100-year-old agenda of exclusion and embrace telling lots of stories with lots of different types of characters, because you know what? Captain Marvel made $1 billion. Mm-hmm. You know what? Black Panther made well over $1 billion. Shang-Chi was fantastic.
Yeah,
and
where's
people
that
embrace where's Shang-Chi too? So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying replace white actors. No, I am a white guy, in case you didn't notice. I'm just saying, make all these movies and make sure everybody's invited to the party.
Well, I mean,
that's all I'm saying.
Everyone's saying Werewolf by Night, right? Well, that actor's from Mexico,
Get the best actor for the job too. You know what I mean? It's all hand in hand, whatever. Okay.
All right. Guys, question is for you. What do you think are some of the key steps that Marvel needs to do to reestablish that dominance again? Did you agree or disagree with any of the 10 that I had? Maybe you agreed with them all. Maybe you disagreed with them all. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to move on to the most important part of our show, which is hearing from you guys, taking your comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank another sponsor of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at Liquid IV. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Liquid IV. You know, summer is just around the corner, and Anna and I have some of our favorite activities coming up, from hiking, swimming, going camping. But in order to do all that, you gotta stay hydrated, because you need hydration that keeps up with every moment. Just a single stick of Liquid IV makes ordinary hydration extraordinary. And for me, preparing a glass is the easiest thing in the world. Simply open up a packet, pour it into your glass of water, and enjoy. And guys, there's a reason that Liquid IV is the #1 powdered hydration brand in America. It has 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink. Just tear, pour, and live more. Just 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. With 8 vitamins and nutrients, non-GMO and free from gluten, dairy, and soy. There's no artificial colors or sweeteners, and it's got 4 delicious sugar-free flavors: white peach, green grape, raspberry melon, and lemon lime. So turn your ordinary water into extraordinary hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code CAMPEA at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code CAMPEA at liquidiv.com. And thank you to our friends at Liquid IV for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to your questions here, shall we? Jonathan, what we got up first?
Okay, let me just scroll down here real quick. Popped up to the top of the screen. Okay. First up, Dr. Stinky with just some support here.
Thank you, Dr. Stinky.
Then you know my name. Purple lighting and dust cloud in Deadpool 3 trailer. You guys were saying yesterday about timelines and worlds. Could Galactus be the destroyer of Wade's world?
No, that has nothing to do with the storyline. Galactus has nothing to do with TVA. And if I'm thinking of the shot you're talking about, that's the beast that lives in that, what do they call the netherworld in Loki?
Void.
The void.
Yeah.
That's the beast that lives in the void. It wasn't Galactus. So no, I don't. Listen, Ryan Reynolds has not called me and told me Galactus is not in this movie. So I don't know. Maybe it is possible, but I really don't see how that would make any sense at all. All right, what's next? Oh, that's right. People in the live chat are saying Alioth is the name of the beast in there. So that's who it was. So Collins, late night alum, Dan Silvestri, a bunch of guys in the live chat saying that was the name of the creature. All right, what's next?
All right. Carlos Souza. I mean, man, I'd always have to say Carlos Souza. Hoping Deadpool 3 will make some sense of the saga.
I doubt it. I mean, it might bring more clarity though, because right now nobody really can tell you what is the MCU about right now. Nobody can really, and maybe Deadpool will start to put it together. All right, what's next?
Frankie says, "Hey, John and crew, watched Dune Part 1 and 2 for the first time. Don't know what took me so long to finally watch them. Both were great, and I'm ready for more. Too bad we didn't get to see them in IMAX.
They are simply magnificent. Dune 2 is still, to me right now, the best movie I've seen in the last 10 years. It's just so absolutely phenomenal. And it made it made Dune Part 1 even better. Yeah. Like, I already loved Dune 1. When I watched Dune 2, it made I keep saying Deadpool. It made Dune 1 even better. So I'm glad you had a chance to watch, man. They're fantastic. All right, what's next?
Christopher Brickner says, I thought X-Men 97 episode 6 was good, but a letdown. However, any episode would feel like a letdown after the amazing X-Men 97 episode 5.
Yeah, I still haven't seen episode 6. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not loving X-Men 97. I loved the first 2 episodes, and it just it's kind of lost its steam for me a little bit. Episode 5 was really good. Yeah, episode 5 was really good, but I don't really feel that huge compulsion that like Shogun. I don't feel that huge compulsion. Like, I gotta get on the next episode as soon as it drops. I'll keep watching it though.
I don't know if they had discussions like that. Maybe they didn't have discussions yet when this was completed about a season 2 and a possible season 3, like now, because usually some of these things would have gone into a 2 or 3 episode story arc, and they're just wrapping them up in 20 minutes. And that's my problem with it.
All right, what's next?
Matan Valensky says, it seems that Swift's new album is just 2 to 3 good songs while the rest is flaff just to sell an album. that was the same BS in the late 90s that got Napster popular.
You know, Ann and I drove to LA the other day. It was about an hour-long drive, and she popped on the new Taylor Swift album. Here's the thing. This was my observation. The name of the album, help me out. I believe it's the poet,
Dead Poet Society.
not Dead Poet Society. What's it called again?
Hold on, Taylor.
You're asking the wrong two guys.
It's the tortured poet.
Oh, Tortured Souls.
The tortured poet department. Is that what it is? Anyway,
Yeah.
so when we're
We'll go with that
driving, there she's playing
The Tortured Poets Department.
Okay, the tortured poets department.
Wow.
I just like the
So
Spanish department.
the album is really in the title, because as we were driving and listening, and when we finished listening to it, I said to Anne, like, there's no bangers on there. Like, whether it's Shake It Off or like there's no big sexy hook songs, right? Like she has some of the other ones. There's no big hits. Even her last album, Antihero, like, right? There's no big sexy hook hits on that album.
Like the big radio hit.
It's musical poetry.
Right.
Like this whole album is musical poetry. And the poetry is quite great. It's really good. But it's not music that I'm going to hop in my car and turn on. You know,
should just try something different.
Like
then.
I want something with a sexier hook.
Yeah.
Give me
sing
Michael
along.
Bolton in Lonely Island singing Captain Jack Sparrow with that big sexy hook.
Oh man, that's your number one go-to.
My number one. No, it's not. But yeah, it is. The title of the album says it all. The new Taylor Swift album is a poetry album. It's not a hit making album. So, and I don't know if I'm going to listen to it again. So that's that. All right, what's next?
John says, what are your thoughts on HBO's Sympathizer with RDJ?
Haven't started watching. I didn't even know it dropped. Did it start?
Yeah, it started. I saw it.
I'm very interested. I've been interested in it for a year when they announced it.
It's on the front page of Max, but I ended up watching the new Conan O'Brien show.
Oh, he's kind of travels, right?
Yeah. So
Everybody's got a food or a travel show now.
I've always liked Conan O'Brien, so it was pretty good. I liked it.
All right, what's next?
We got Ray Loves Trench Coats. It's crazy how I've been following your stuff for the better part of 2 decades now. I wasn't even close to old enough to drink yet when I first discovered your website.
Well, if
Oh,
you're
so
talking
he's
about
going
my
all the
website,
way back,
like,
yeah.
if you're talking about
Yeah.
the movie blog days, yeah, I mean that's going back, because I just last year I celebrated my 20th anniversary of doing online movie punditry. I launched the movie blog in the summer of 2003. Is when I launched the movie blog, 2003. And then that evolved, and then it kind of turned into different things. Then I went over to AMC, then I went over to Complex, and then all my other thing. But yeah, man, I've been doing this a long time. Been doing it a long time. I'm glad you've come along for the journey with me, man. All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Yasmar says, how does your popcorn last, John? If AMC hits me with the full 30 minutes of trailers, I might be out by the time the movie starts. Although, to be fair, it's been like 20 minutes lately.
I started to think so.
Yeah, me
And
too.
then the last couple of movies I've gone to, they've gone the full 25, 30 minutes again.
Yeah.
Huh.
I run the risk of missing, because every once in a while, AMC tries to manipulate you into being in your seat to watch all the trailers
Right.
by every once in a while starting a movie at a reasonable time. Like, mostly when a movie says it starts at 7 at an AMC theater, it usually starts at 7:26, 7:27, 7:30. So I usually don't walk into a movie theater now until 7:15, 7:20. But that means, like at the last Indiana Jones movie, I ended up missing the first 10 minutes of the movie because they actually started it after only a couple of trailers.
That's really weird, though.
So fuck you very much, AMC theaters.
That was the greatest 10 minutes ever, too. Sorry,
Shut
up.
It explained the whole
So,
thing.
but me, here's the thing. I don't ever get through my whole bucket of popcorn. I usually get about halfway through, and then I'm like popcorned out. But I'm usually through my popcorn. I get to my stop point in my popcorn usually about 20 minutes after I start. About 20 minutes after I start. Because I'm not one of these guys who picks at it and then 5 minutes later picks at it again. Like I'm a constant eater until I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Until I'm done. All right. What's next?
We got Frankie, who says, since the new trailer was released, I've rewatched Deadpool 1 and 2. Do you think the portal and trailer in the trailer is at the end of the film and leads into Secret Wars? I don't know
No.
Secret Wars.
No, I think it's Wong. I think it's Wong opening, because Wong has kind of become the new Fury. He's the new Nick Fury.
Yeah.
Wong has kind of become the connective tissue between the MCU, and I'm all for it. Like I think, you know, Nick Fury's been a great character to do that, and now it's kind of Wong doing it, and I think it's been great. I think it's Wong like just opening it up to get them out of the void or something like that. But no, I don't think it's something like a portal into Secret Wars or anything like that. But who knows? It might be. All right. Aries in the live chat saying Wong pool. All right. What's next?
On the screens, simply says Shogun.
Oh my, yeah. So I watched the finale of Shogun.
Is it the greatest season ever?
No. One of the greatest seasons ever.
Oh,
yes.
The finale, not.
The finale, here's what it is.
Ooh,
The finale reminded us that it is a lower budget show. It wasn't a show that had the biggest budget in the world. So, like, instead of showing us the big climactic battle between these giant samurai armies, it's just Toranaga foretelling a story about how the battle is going to go and why he's going to win. And from a story point, it's a beautiful ending. It really is.
Do you remember on HBO Rome was doing that because they were on a fixed budget?
Yep.
So all of a sudden they'd be like, "We're going to battle," and then they'd be all dusty and dirty, like, "We've lost the battle."
And that was kind of like the end. But again, the story was beautiful. It showed that Toranaga was playing chess when everybody else was playing checkers.
I was wondering why you didn't come in with like the glow you usually have when a Shogun thing, like you weren't even talking about.
Again, it was very good, but it wasn't the ultimate glory ending that I was kind of hoping for. Still really good. Again, one of the greatest seasons of TV I've ever seen.
Maybe
but not the greatest season of TV I've ever seen.
Maybe the Leafs' victory overshadowed the
well, the Leafs beating Boston last night certainly did help my mood. I mean, absolutely it did.
Oh, they broke the curse, huh?
Well,
But
I mean,
they had
they
to
didn't
win
win
the
the
series.
series,
Yeah.
but they won a game, and I'll take that as a start.
He can bleed. He bleeds.
That's right. If it can bleed, we can kill it. All right, what's next?
1253 Sir says, YouTube comment of the day: the 8-fold fence is no match for Lady Ochiba's 100-fold
paper message to Toranaga. That is a reference to the finale. Again, a brilliant twist and turn. Again, showing how throughout the whole show, Toranaga has been pulling the strings of everybody. And it's brilliant. Well done.
Oh, question.
Cosmo Jarvis's performance in the finale was fantastic.
Question here. Without spoilers, did it leave it open to another season, or was that the end? Do you think it was the end?
I think it's the end.
Okay.
But you could easily do a season 2.
Okay. We'll
right?
just leave it as that.
You could easily do a season 2. I mean, it ends with, for those of you watching who watched it already, you'll know what I'm saying. For those of you who didn't watch it, you'll have no idea what I'm saying. Ending where they're pulling on the ropes. Okay. But it easily could have felt like there would have been another episode next week. So you easily could do a season 2. I don't expect that they will, though. All right. What's next?
On the screen says, what did you think of the Trump tweet about the Oscars where he confused Al Pacino
I see Oppenheimer.
with Jimmy Kimmel and said the rating went down when they were at 4-year high?
I see Oppenheimer. It's funny you ask, because we were just talking about this before the show started. Now, look, on my show, I don't like talking politics, because whether you're, more left-leaning, right-leaning, whatever, we all love movies, right? And so I don't like to talk about a lot of politics. I will talk about human issues, because that's a humanity issue, like talking about equality and stuff like that. That's not a political issue. Like, some assholes do politicize that, but it's not a political issue. It's a human issue. And I'll talk about that sometimes. I don't like to talk about politics, but this is an Oscar story. And let me get this on my screen. Can you see my screen?
Let me see.
So, first of all, what I should point out here was that it was not a tweet, because I think it was on. He put this on his own social network. Donald Trump has his own social network, so I don't think it was a tweet. I think it was on his own social network. but it's so pathetic and sad. It just kind of makes me laugh, but also feel frightened because it is so latent with errors and mistakes. So he starts off, remember, this is weeks after the Oscars, weeks. And I guess Jimmy Kimmel is still living rent-free in Donald Trump's head.
I guess so.
Because it's weeks later. And he gets on social media and he writes, stupid Jimmy Kimmel. Let me make sure. Okay. Stupid Jimmy Kimmel, who still hasn't recovered from his horrendous performance and big ratings drop as host of the Academy Awards. All right. First of all, the ratings for the Academy Awards went up again. It was the highest ratings they had in a 4-year stretch. So you got Donald Trump again with his big ratings drop. Okay, quick fact check. The ratings of the Oscars again went up this year. They had 21 million viewers of the Oscars this year in the first 24 hours. 21 million viewers. That will again make it the highest watched television event this year that isn't an NFL game. But at any rate, so it goes there. But this is where it gets really scared. He goes, get to this point here. Right before he stumbled through announcing the biggest award of all, Picture of the Year. It was a classic choke, one of the biggest ever in show business. And to top it off, he forgot to say the famous and mandatory line, and the winner is. He was made to look like a fool, which he is, and at the same time go down in television history as the worst thing ever. Did Donald Trump just confuse Jimmy Kimmel for Al Pacino?
I see Oppenheimer.
He right before he stumbled through announcing the biggest award of all, Picture of the Year, Jimmy Kimmel didn't give out the award for Picture of the Year. He stammered around the opening the envelope. He didn't open the envelope. He forgot to say the famous mandatory line, and the winner is. He's not the one who said it. It was Al Pacino. And so I get on there and I look at that and I'm just like, is this guy okay? Like, is this guy all there?
I don't know how you confuse those two people.
I mean, it just starts off with this, but it's classic Donald Trump, right? It's classic Donald Trump. He starts off just by saying something that is a blatant lie, but he knows that the people who follow him won't care if he lies.
It's just the prey and
So he
spray
comes
of
and says,
commenting.
with another biggest rating drop. Well, fact check, it wasn't a ratings drop. It was the highest ratings in 4 years, but he doesn't care.
Most people won't check.
And then he confuses Al Pacino for that. And it's like, what is happening? What is happening? Anyway, I just, only because it's connected with the Oscars. I just, that we were talking about it. And I mentioned the guys I was thinking about, said, should we talk about this? I didn't know, but anyway, so there's that. All right. What's next?
Let's see. Oh, Darth Hideous. I know it's a movie show, but holy balls. Did anyone catch the Lakers game? Was a heartbreaker. Jamal Murray with the buzzer beater. Great game.
I don't want to hear about it.
The Lakers deserve to lose everything. I mean, they had a 20-point lead in the second half. And through a comical series of boneheaded mistakes and like passes 5 feet over people's head and ridiculous numbers of turnovers, at least 10, I counted, at least 10 missed layups. They totally deserved, and count on a good Canadian kid, Murray, to hit the game-winning shot for the Denver Nuggets at the end. He's Canadian, grew up not too far from me. Hits the winning shot to take the lead for the first time in the game, basically, since the first quarter, and had a big 20-point comeback, knocked it down. League MVP, the Joker. He's the best guy in basketball right now. All due respect to Luka and everything, but Jokic is clearly the best all-around basketball player in the league right now, and he is just dominating. He had a double-double in the first quarter, Ray. The Joker had a double-double in the first quarter. He finished with, I can't remember how many points, but it was well over 20. 20 rebounds. Jeez. He finished with a triple-double and became the only guy in NBA history to get over 20 points and over 20 rebounds multiple times in the NBA playoffs. Only 4 other people have done it, and they've only done it once. Joker has now done it 4 times. It was crazy. Anyway, but the Toronto Maple Leafs won.
Yeah.
God's team, my friends. God's team. All right, what's next?
Okay. Alex Von Gollum says, "Hi y'all. Will there be an open spoiler show for Shogun now that the finale has arrived? Shogun was spectacular. Toranaga and Mariko are the absolute MVPs."
It was one of the greatest seasons of television I've ever watched. Maybe not the best season of television I've ever watched, but definitely one of the best seasons of television I have ever watched. But I don't think I'm going to do an open spoiler discussion about it because I just don't think enough people watched it. I really don't think a ton of people watched it because I think a lot of people are scared of subtitles, which, I mean, that's been a common thing in movie watching for many. Every generation, there's a good portion of people that just don't enjoy reading subtitles, and that's totally fair. But I don't think a lot of people watch it, unfortunately, but it is great. All right, what's next?
We got Karam Potts, who says, "I watch your show right now, but I'm currently trying to watch the series finale of Shogun. P.S. Ray, please call the trench coat girl. Thank you."
Well, go and enjoy. Again, I'm not saying that the finale of Shogun was bad. It wasn't. It was very, very good. But it wasn't that, explosive finale like I was kind of hoping it would be. But it was still very, very solid. And again, one of the greatest seasons of television I've ever seen. All right, what's next?
Matan says, "You mentioned Star Wars Underworld yesterday. Do you think that George's clone Ronald D. Moore will ever get to work again in Star Wars as he has a deal with Disney now?"
I don't think so. And by the way, I don't even know how good Ronald D. Moore would be as a director. I mean, he's easily, obviously, a great showrunner. He did my #1 all-time favorite show ever, Battlestar Galactica. His version of Battlestar Galactica is, I think, the greatest television show of all time. He did the one that you and Rob are loving right now, For All Mankind.
Oh, yeah.
He's clearly a brilliant showrunner. I just don't know if he can direct. I have no idea if he can or not. So maybe yes, maybe no. We'll find out.
Wow, he is a George Clooney. He looked like he could be his brother or something. Man, crazy. Never actually looked at him.
What's next?
Late Night Alum says, "Which movie theater does their pre-film feature add best? AMC with Nicole Kidman or Marcus Theaters with CEO Greg Marcus? Bring on the filthy."
I've never been in a Marcus Theater.
Yeah, me either.
I don't even know where there is a Marcus. I don't know if there is a Marcus Theater around us anywhere.
Let me see.
Yeah, no shade on Marcus Theaters whatsoever. None at all.
Yeah,
I'm saying I don't think I've got any around me.
Didn't we feature Marcus Theaters in our documentary? Or was that a different theater? I can't remember now.
Oh, was that Marcus Theater?
And we had their intro and everything. It was-
Yes, talking about the original. I don't know if that was Marcus Theaters or not. But again, I've never been in one because I don't even know if there are any around me. We certainly didn't have any. We didn't have any in Canada, so I've never been in one, so I can't say. All right, what's next?
We got Harvest K, who says, Shogun finale, such an elegaic and beautiful episode, just like one of Mariko's poems.
It was poetry. You know what it was? It was like the second to last episode was kind of like the finale, and then the finale was kind of like a epilogue. Or epilogues at the end, right? Prologues at the beginning, or is it the other way around?
Prologue's the beginning.
Yes, so it's like an epilogue, kind of more of a meditation. The last episode is kind of a meditation on, and really it focuses on John Blackthorne, played by Cosmo Jarvis, and really how he has evolved, and the full revelation of the brilliance of Toranaga, and how he has kind of been the puppet master throughout the entire series. It's again very good. I was just kind of looking for a big explosive kind of thing at the end. And also, no pun intended for the end of the episode 9.
Also, Marcus Theaters, if you go to the location thing and you do the state drop down, California's not even listed.
Okay, so it's not even in the state. Okay. All right, what's next?
Okay, Ray loves Finnerco says, "Love your show."
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, Ray loves trench coats, just asking about Chris.
Yeah, Chris will be on the show on Friday.
There you go.
All right, what's next?
Raya Weira says, Raya Weira probably. Any thoughts on Rebel Moon 2? Yeah, we got some thoughts on Rebel Moon 2.
I still haven't subjected myself to it.
I'm
last night, obviously, because again, we talked about this we were moving over the weekend, couldn't watch it. Last night I had to watch the Laker game with Ann, and then I wanted to watch the finale of Shogun, and then I had to go to bed. So I didn't watch it last night. I am going to try to watch Rebel Moon today. You've tried to watch it 3 times,
Yeah,
right?
3 times. First 15 minutes, and then I think 20 minutes, and then like 15 minutes again. It's not because I'm falling asleep. It's for some reason I have to turn it off.
There's reasons, but
Yeah, there are reasons.
I have to take a break from what I just saw.
Look,
and so maybe I'll
yeah.
go back and just watch the whole thing. I don't
Yeah, I'm going to watch it today. I mean, obviously, I'm hearing terrible things about it. Rob described it, his thoughts. Maybe I'll like it. I don't know, but I hated the first one. So
you guys can see yesterday's episode, and see Rob's thoughts on it for now, I guess.
yeah.
Next up, we got Richard Lai, who says, I feel like anytime Snyder talks about DC or responding to all the criticisms of his DC films implied that he refused to move on, especially when even his fans weren't talking about both Rebel Moon.
I agree. Now, listen, I always feel like I need to give you proper context for my thoughts on this. Up until Rebel Moon, and I talked about this yesterday, up until Rebel Moon 1, in all of Zack Snyder's filmography, there's only ever been one film of his I didn't like. And that was a film he himself doesn't like, which was Sucker Punch. I like to love every other one of his movies. I think he's a really unique storyteller. I think he's a very visual storyteller. Even his animated film, The Legends of the Guardians, I think is a very underrated, underappreciated film. I like
Owl
that
one, right?
Yeah, The Owls of Gaul. I think that's a really good little film. I've met Zack Snyder. He's super nice. I am a fan of, obviously, my love of his masterpiece, The Man of Steel. I am a Zack Snyder fan. Having said that, he needs to move on. He needs to stop talking about DC and what he was gonna do and what he did do and what he should have done. And he's just gotta fucking get over it and move on. Because he has a big, long road still ahead of him. He's got more movies to make and stories to tell, and he's gotta fucking get off this non-ending treadmill of keep talking about and hanging on to the DC stuff. It just move on and do yourself and everybody else a favor and get back to making interesting, good movies. Now, Rebel Moon fell. Okay, Rebel Moon fell on his face. Whatever. I believe Zack Snyder still has great movies in him to make. I'm looking forward to see the future of Zack Snyder movies. I even really liked Army of the Dead. I want to see him making his movies. I don't want to hear him talking about DC. It's just a distraction for himself. It's a distraction for everybody else. Get over it, move past it, and stop talking about DC.
And I love how he cares about his fans, right? That's one thing. But then sometimes they're gonna get into wars that you just shouldn't involve yourself in.
No, because here's the thing.
Just focus on giving me all the good movies that you've had.
If they can't get to the point where you can't have a Zack Snyder movie without half of the dialogue online around his DC stuff because he himself keeps fueling it, then at some point studios aren't going to want to work with him anymore.
I hope that doesn't happen.
And I really don't want that to happen. He's still got great movies to make and great stories to tell. But he needs to get past this whole thing of just, you know what? Here's a great example. You know who's done a really good job of moving on from what was in their rear view mirror? M. Night. The Sham Hammer has done a great job of moving past. You know what? He's not riding on the coattails of what was the I See Dead People movie? Of Sixth Sense, or of what was the original
Signs
Unbreakable,
or
or Signs. He's also moved past the big failure era,
The
where
Village.
The Village and Fighting with Trees and Lady in the Water, which is one of the worst films ever made in the history of Hollywood. He's moved past it.
Yeah, he's starting to create something better.
That's just right. He just put his nose down, kept going back to work. He made The Visit, which is actually a really nice little film. Then he made Split, that got everybody
Split
excited.
was so good.
It got everybody excited. He's got this new one coming out called Trap that looks really good. He's never talking about what was in the rear view mirror. And because he never talks about what's in the rear view mirror and only looking ahead, everybody's coming along with him. And I think Zack Snyder needs to look at that example of M. Night, forget what's in the rear view mirror, just focus on the road ahead, And I think he can still have great success.
The ex-girlfriend has already gotten married. Why?
Yeah, the ex-girlfriend's moved on.
Yeah, why
That's
you keep
2
thinking
kids
about
now.
it? Yeah.
Move on.
I am still waiting for the M. Night cut of Lady in the Water, though. That one's going to
The director's cut of Lady in the Water that totally changes it.
It
into
needed
a great
15
movie.
more minutes.
All right.
That happening, the plant side.
You know what? Brian C23 in the live chat just brought up another really good example, which was Ryan Johnson. You know, he doesn't talk about Brick and all the other stuff he did was great. And then he doesn't talk about the Star Wars controversy that he had. He just moved on. And what did he do after that? He made fabulous movies like Knives Out, Glass Onion, you know, just, and I
found
think
his niche.
Yeah, I want Zack Snyder to be able to do the same. Forget the ex-girlfriend, look forward to the trench coat and just move forward. All right. What's next?
That's my
All right, trench coat run. Boston says, hey, John and crew, wanted to know in your opinions. I just want you to know I'm really fighting doing this in a Boston accent. What movies are your top 5 criminally underrated movies? 2 of mine are Cinderella Man and I Love Smoking.
All right.
Aces.
So just so you know, I don't do or take top 5, top 10 questions.
That's a lot.
So do the one at the top.
Yeah,
of your head.
that's the stuff I have to sit down. Those are things that I would need to sit down and think through and formulate out. And it's not something I just carry off the top of my head. As far as like my all-time most criminally underrated film, I think still is Claire Danes, Henry Cavill, Charlie Cox, Robert De Niro, Ricky Gervais, Michelle Pfeiffer's Stardust. Directed not by Guy Ritchie, I think Matthew Vaughn.
Yes.
Did Matthew? Yeah, Matthew Vaughn.
He did.
Stardust to me is not the greatest movie of all time, but I still think is the most underrated film, underappreciated movie ever made. It is the new Princess Bride.
Well, it's not new anymore.
Yeah, it itself is not new anymore. It's an old movie now, but it's a lot newer than Princess Bride is.
Yeah.
Like it is a wonderful. Peter O'Toole is in it. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful film. If you want to see a movie with Superman and Daredevil in it together, go watch Stardust. That is my most underrated. I think the most underrated movie ever made. All right, what's next?
All right. Chubbs GPT says, after Shogun, thinking of writing my own death poem.
The leaves on the tree turn to the water of the lily.
He could be on Taylor Swift's new album.
That's right. You could be in the tortured poets
Yeah, he could be
department.
in that department.
All right, what's next?
Okay, we got Mr. Hank Dunn says, I want to get back into YouTube, but my job leaves me feeling so mentally drained after each day of considering going PT, but bills kick my ass. Tips.
Look, when I was doing the movie blog, I had to sacrifice. When I was doing the movie blog, I was going to school full time, working part time in a law firm, and trying to do my blogging. So I had to do one of 3 things. I would get up extra hour and a half early every day. So I'd be getting up at like 5:30 and writing a couple of blog posts. And then maybe over my lunch, because I'd have my laptop, write another blog post. And then maybe at like 11:30 p.m., write another blog post. I don't know that that's the healthiest thing to do. I don't know that that's good advice. But the point is, if you want to do something like that, you are going to have to make some sacrifices, whether it's sacrificing your sleep schedule or whatever. And then you also got to decide if it's even worth it or not.
There's no
right?
guarantee of success.
Yeah,
That's
and there's
what's
no
scary.
guarantee. Actually, you should assume
Yeah.
it won't succeed, and that I always tell people doing this: if you want to get into YouTubing and podcasting or stuff like that, assume that it's not going to turn out to be anything, and that you're just doing it for the pure love of doing it and the joy of doing it.
Exactly. Like that's probably how it worked out for you because like you love movies, so you.
I just had to talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So like make sure that you're doing something that you enjoy doing without the thought of any income coming in or anything.
Yeah. If you get into YouTubing thinking you're gonna be able to make a career out of this, you failed before you started.
Yeah.
Like I started the movie blog as a hobby because I just love movies so much and I wanted to talk
Right.
about them all the time. And I just wanted to have 100 readers a month and I would have been perfectly happy. It happened to, I got lucky and it happened to evolve into more. Great. But if you go into it thinking I'm going to be one of the 0.01% that's actually going to make a living out of this, I'm not saying don't take a swing. Just be smart about it, but also understand it's going to take some sacrifices.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be including other work in that schedule.
Yeah.
We only have so many hours into the day.
Yeah, I was a full-time student and
Yeah.
a part-time job at a law firm and trying to do my blogging at
Yeah,
the
so
same
you got to
time.
make sure you're having fun at least somewhat.
Had no love life. All right, what's next?
Yeah, Transformers.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Transformers.
Have my Transformers.
Let's see. We got. Where do we leave off? Okay, Karen Potts says apparently Hulu has an English version of Shogun.
Oh, really? Like a dubbed version?
I guess.
Oh God, I
fuck
wouldn't want to watch that. I wouldn't want to watch that because then you're not getting Sonata's voice
You're losing it.
as Tornado. What are you kidding? But to each their own. If that works for you, that works for you. All right, what's next?
Okay. We got Mr. Oh no, we got K Nikio says Deadpool left like a prayer stuck in my head. Ray
What
was
hap-
singing it this morning.
What happened before we started the show today?
I was singing it this morning. I don't
Ray
know.
is literally singing it in the studio. Except, see, a normal person, if they were going to sing like a prayer, they would sing just like a prayer. Dun, to take you there. Right?
Yeah.
Not Ray. Ray literally sings the
Part that
part.
goes,
Yeah, he's just sitting there going,
Yeah, and then he's like, "Go ahead, Jonathan. Go ahead and
yeah,
show
then it
me
turns to
up."
Jonathan, go ahead, Jonathan, you sing the next
you
line.
sing
We have
next
no
line.
idea
I'm like,
what
of
he's
what?
singing.
oh, once again, the
Of what?
minority gets bullied in
Picking
here.
on the minority. That's all it was. All right. What's next?
All right, now Mr. I says $1 billion is not a standard that you base a movie's profitability
Not at all.
on. Yeah.
No.
But there will be people that will say that if D&W makes
Oh, yeah.
basically 2 cents less than $1 billion, will say it flopped.
No. This is the classic example of moving the goalposts, right? Like we talked at length yesterday, and including on open mic last night. For those of you who missed it, I did an open mic last night. You can go find it on the channel. Where we talked about can Deadpool make $1 billion, but we made sure to emphasize, listen, the $1 billion mark is not the line you need to cross to be successful.
Oh, yeah.
The $1 billion mark is a line you cross to join the pantheon of the most successful films in history. Like consider over the 100-year history and hundreds of thousands of movies that have been made. The number of films that have joined the $1 billion clubs is still just in 2 digits. Think about that. Still just in 2 digits, the number of films that have joined the $1 billion club. That is not the win line. The $1 billion line is not the win line for Deadpool. The Deadpool win line, I think, is like 500 million. It makes 500, 550 million, 600 million. It's a win. If it makes 700 million, big win. If it makes 850 million, huge hit. The $1 billion, we were asking, could it hit the $1 billion mark? But in us talking about the $1 billion mark, in no way, shape, or form are we suggesting that's the pass or fail line. But you're right. There are people with pre-existing agendas who will just desperately get on their hands and knees and dig around in the dirt to try to find things to criticize. And if the movie doesn't make $1 billion, they'll say, "Aha, it flopped. Deadpool flopped. Ha."
Yeah.
And they'll just do that. And there's nothing you can do about people like that except just ignore them and say, "God bless. I hope you have a great life," and just move away from them. Like somebody talking to themselves on a sidewalk with a paper mache hat on their head.
You just got to hope lightning is distributed fairly.
Yeah. Lightning is super fair. All right. What's next?
Orange Grove says, "Did you leave Twitter X?"
Oh, ages ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Twitter X.
Yeah, I left Twitter ages ago because, I mean, I recognized well over a year ago, Twitter is just a toxic cesspool. It really is. Like nothing good happens on Twitter. Nothing beneficial happens on Twitter. And I was just like, so I started to recognize that I was only starting to post on Twitter. Like, first of all, it became like once a week. Because at the beginning, like before I got to like 100,000 followers on Twitter, I was like tweeting 2 or 3 times a day. But then I started recognizing that I was only tweeting like maybe once a day and then maybe once a week. And then I literally started noticing, you know what? I've only posted 3 times in the past 2 months. And then Twitter went through this thing where they were getting rid of their moderation and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what? This is already kind of a cesspool of a place. Being on Twitter, and I'm not saying this is for everybody. I'm just saying this was for me. Okay. I'm not telling other people you should get off Twitter. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying for me, I realized this brings nothing good into my life. And if it brings nothing good into my life, why am I on this platform? So even though, and believe me, I had some friends of mine in the industry telling me, John, you have over 100,000 followers on Twitter. You can't just turn it off. I'm like, yeah, I can. If people really want to follow me, like I'm still on Instagram and stuff like that, and they can follow me there if they want, but it's not important and it doesn't bring anything good into my life. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't bring the good things in life for other people. If it does for you, that's great. But yeah, for me, I just deleted it and shut it off a long time ago now. I can't even remember how long ago it was, but I turned it off a long time ago. All right, what's next?
All right, the Batman is back and says,
$50
yes,
super
$50
chat.
Batman?
Thank you, Batman.
Now that James Gunn and Zaslav are gone, computer replay the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer. I don't computer replay the Deadpool and Wolverine.
I don't understand.
Man, I'm really sorry that we didn't get that reference because
I wish we could talk about it because he gave us like a $50 tip.
Oh no, but because he's the Batman, so
So?
he's saying Zaslav and whatever are gone. He's gonna keep watching the
But
competing
what
companies'
does he
trailer.
mean they're gone?
Like he's out. They're out the house maybe because he's actually the real Batman.
I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea what's going on. What's this?
By the way, I guarantee you the person who probably was watched the new Deadpool trailer more than anybody
It's Batman.
is probably James Gunn. It's James Gunn's a huge Deadpool fan. He loves it. Anyway. All right. What's
Sorry
next?
about that, man.
Oh, it's from Lego Batman.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes more
Sorry.
sense. Okay. All right. What's next?
Casinema says, people are acting like Rebel Moon poisoned their water supply, burned their crops, and delivered a plague upon their houses. If people didn't like it, that's fine, but come on, chill.
Hey, listen, I am of the opinion that, like, when I don't like a movie, I'll do a review and I'll say, I think this movie stinks or whatever. And then I'm done and I move on. Now, if somebody else writes in and says, hey, what did you think about this part of this movie you didn't like? Okay, yeah, I'll talk about it again then. But here's the thing, like, you won't see me for like some outlets, if there's something or a movie they don't like, they will make a video about it every day for 3 or 4 months. And I just, and God bless, I just don't like to live my life that way. Like, if there's a movie I don't like, I will do my review on it, and then I won't make more videos about it. Now, like, let's take something like Madam Web. I did one review of Madam Web. I did not then make 6 videos about why Madam Web sucked part 1, why Madam Web sucked part 2, why Madam Web sucked part 3. Now, I did do, when news would happen, like Madam Web failed to cross this very low box office thing, we did a story about that and we talked about it. When Madam Web, something else happened, yes, we talked about it. But I haven't seen Rebel Moon part 2 yet. But I saw Rebel Moon Part 1. I thought it was terrible. I did a review of Rebel Moon Part 1. I said, I think it's terrible. And then I was done with it. But here's the thing. Blogs, podcasts, YouTube channels, hate, this is the reality. Hate gets clicks.
Yep.
Hate gets clicks. Rage spreading gets clicks. And I have recognized that on my own channel. I remember remember the show that I came in and we were looking at the traffic over the last couple of days. And there was a video where I was upset about something and we made a video about it. And I came in and we were looking over the numbers and I said, dude, it's really deflating to see that when there were a couple of really great news stories that week, but the one that got the most views was the angry video.
Yeah. And there are channels that base their whole channel.
There
on
are
that
blogs
stuff.
and podcasts who just base everything on, we want to make people angry and we want everybody to get around so we can all be,
The cities are
have rage
burning
together.
The
right?
country is burning. The movie studio is burning.
Everything sucks.
Everything's
Everything's woke,
burning.
everything's
it's
whatever.
all an agenda. It's all burning.
It's just hey, everybody, you want a place to come and just be really toxic and angry? Come do it here.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to do that.
It sucks that we're getting to a point where you're almost like, should I say I like something or not? You know? You can't enjoy anything anymore.
Yeah, like it's
if you like
it is
something,
what it
you're
is.
soft. Shut up and go outside. Get some.
But
sun.
you're right. Listen, I haven't seen Rebel Moon Part 2 yet, but if I think it sucks, okay, it's a movie that sucks. There have been other movies that sucked. There will be more movies that suck. Say it sucked and you didn't like it, and then move on.
Oh, we don't watch those channels. Someone said just don't watch those channels. I block those channels.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, all right. What's next?
all right. Last up for super chats. You know my name is Beck. Says Dune 2 already streaming in the UK. I feel like it's too soon. It should be much later legislated. It just encourages people not to go to the movies.
Listen, while I agreed that I think didn't the theatrical window used to be like I think it used to be 6 months at one point.
I remember Home Alone. It felt like the entire year it was in theaters.
Oh yeah, and Top Gun Maverick,
Yeah.
like it was a long time. That was Tom Cruise didn't want to go on home video for a while. But then then it went to 3 months, and then for the longest time, 3 months was kind of the standard theatrical window,
Yeah.
and it worked.
I think 90 days is fair.
But then the pandemic happened,
Yeah.
and the studios who have stupidly wanted a shorter theatrical window, and the theaters during the pandemic were on their last gasps of air and had no negotiating leverage. The studios negotiated a 45-day window instead of a 90-day window. And I think, pardon my French, but they just fucked themselves doing that. I think that has been a mistake, and they are losing out on money by only having a 45-day window. But it's unfortunately one of those things that's hard to take back. Like once you go to a 45-day window, it's nearly impossible to then go back to a 90-day window unless you're Tom Cruise. So I don't know, but yeah, I agree. It is too soon for them to doing it. I think they're leaving money on the table. And I would really like, I wouldn't even mind a 60-day window. Like,
Right.
I mean, I think 90 days was really where it should be. But you know what? If you want a little bit shorter, I can see going as little as 60 days, but I think 45 was just way too soon.
They can never go to something where it's just like, hey, if it's doing well, we'll keep it in here.
The
I mean,
problem is logistically that creates a problem because it's not like releasing it on home video is just a decision you can make like that. Like it takes
Oh, right,
months
right,
and
right,
months
right.
and
Yeah,
months
yeah,
of
yeah.
I didn't even
scheduling
think
and
about that side.
planning and
Yeah, okay.
logistics and
Yeah.
I got
yeah.
it.
It's a shame though, because I'm just looking in the UK last week. It made 700,000.
I know. And now it's going to go to home
So-
video. And by the way, every dollar that Dune 2 makes on home video now, it would have made anyway if they waited 4 more weeks. Every dollar that Dune 2 makes on home video now would have made that money anyway 4 weeks from now, except they would have made 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 million more dollars in the box office.
I mean, 700,000. That's like double the Blair Witch Kids.
Yeah.
So-
You can buy 2 Blair Witch Kids
Yeah,
and
for that.
100,000 to spare. All right, what's next?
On to our member questions. Jonathan Rio says, although Rise of Skywalker didn't turn out well, I still think J.J. Abrams is a solid director. What type of movie should he direct next? He's already rebooted Trek, Star Wars, and Mission. And should he do another personal movie like Super 8?
Okay, first of all, yeah, I hated the Rise of Skywalker, right? I hated that movie. But I agree. I think J.J. Abrams is actually a pretty solid director. He struck out a couple of times, yes, but I think he's a very good director. Super 8 is actually kind of funny because I don't like Super 8.
Oh, you don't?
No, that's like one of his movies that I didn't like. I think it has a really good idea. You know what the problem was? He tried to take 2 different ideas and make them one movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because Super 8, he told this story at CinemaCon a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Super 8 started with the idea of a quiet town, and there's a train that runs through the town, but one day the train derails, and it turns out there was an alien monster on that train that now got out, and the alien monster is wreaking havoc on this town, okay? So he also, for a couple of years, had been developing this other idea for a movie about a love letter to him growing up, making films on Super 8 cameras. And he goes, what if we made this movie that was like almost like a Stand By Me kind of story about coming of age and these kids who like fell in love with making movies using Super 8. And then he said, I had lunch with somebody and they suggest, why don't you just make them both into one movie? And the movie totally feels like two separate ideas trying to be made into one movie. And for that reason, it didn't really work for me. But I would like to see J.J. Abrams continue making films. I do think he's a very good director who strikes out sometimes. But, you know, all directors, you're going to have your hits, you're going to have your misses. Even Spielberg himself has a couple of misses. The Terminal.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, we'll see. All right, what's
don't
next?
jab at my Terminal.
Chip Crisper says, "Hey crew, Boy Kills World was the screen unseen last night. It was okay, very violent and gory, cool action, funny, but the action frame rate edit choice was very jarring. View with caution."
I really do want to see.
Does that
this
mean like
movie.
it's a high frame rate or what?
Yeah, it sounds like it's like one of those Peter Jackson high frame rate movies. But listen, I love Skarsgård. It's got, I never know how to pronounce her name, but Jean Grey, Famke Janssen.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce her name?
Got it.
It sounds like she's like the villain in the film and stuff like this. I want to see it. I want to see it. That's pretty cool. That's two cool ones they've done with the screen unseen, because they did Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and now they've done this. If they keep doing this, I'm going to have to start making a point to go to these screen unseens again. All right, what's next?
All right. Geo the One says, why do you, he says, why do I think, but maybe he means why do you think they're having Thor do 5 movies and stop at all the others at 3? I guess Spider-Man gets 4, but that's Sony.
It's not a matter of, well, you're a Thor, so you get 5. It's a matter of, do we see a path for success? Like, Thor Ragnarok is one of the best MCU movies. I'm not saying it's the best one. It's not the best one, but it's up there. It's truly one of the best movies that the MCU's ever made. And it was wildly successful for them. And people love the character. And then they loved the character even more once you got into Infinity War and Endgame. And people love Chris Hemsworth. And I mean, remember what I was talking about a little bit earlier? The MCU's got to be careful not just to go with all new characters. You got to mix in the old ones too. And I think I think Thor is one of the last standing OG ones. Mm-hmm. And so they did. Now, Thor Love and Thunder, well, there's discussions to be had about how good or not that movie was. But that's why that one gets like 5. Ant-Man 3 shouldn't get a 4th film. You know, Ant-Man should not get a 4th one. That I think Paul Rudd and Scott Lang should continue to be characters in the MCU, but I don't think you give Ant-Man another movie. So yeah, it's not a matter of each character gets a number given to them. It's just about what's working and what's not. And I think that's really what it all goes down to. All right, what's next?
Dominic Suma says, Game of Thrones might be the biggest and best show of all time, yet none of its cast has become a star since the show ended. Any thoughts why this is?
It's not unusual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for the very longest time, it was almost impossible for a TV star to then transition and be a movie star. Like, for every one that did it, there were 200 that couldn't. And listen, look at some of the greatest shows of all time. I mean, Seinfeld didn't have another hit after Seinfeld, but I don't think he really even tried. Julia Louis-Dreyfus was kind of the only one on that show that was able to break out. I mean, she did, New Old Christine, then she won a whole bunch of Emmys for doing V, but she was really the only one. Go back to one of the other most popular shows of all time, Friends. I mean, they were able to have careers,
Right.
but Jennifer Aniston never had a real hit. Courtney Cox never had a real hit after Friends. David Schwimmer certainly never had any hits after Friends. Matt LeBlanc didn't really have any hits, although he got to have his own HBO show and everything after that. But I mean, no movie career to speak of. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's very, very rare that you're able to do that.
Especially when it's that big and on a show that's weekly, because you're in people's living rooms
all
week.
The time.
And so then it's just like, that's what they think of you as.
For free. So yeah, it's not unusual. It's the norm that if you become famous for being on a show, and Jay Alexander saying The Office had stars. Really? Because there were 9 regular cast members. How many of them made it big after The Office?
And also people get stuck.
And
in
Steve
that
Carell was already a name before he did The Office,
Right.
by the way. Steve Carell was already a name. So, I mean, John Krasinski, but it took him like 15 years after The Office to become big. Who played John Krasinski's wife again? Jenna
Fisher.
Fisher. Jenna Fisher's not been able to transition to a big career.
She was in Blades of Glory.
Blades of Glory.
Yeah, but she had a role,
role.
Like she is much more successful as a podcaster since then. But like not anybody from The Office was able to transition either.
And if you want to go technical side, I think recording a TV series is way different from recording or filming a movie, right?
And by the way, it's like the Moon is saying Mindy Kaling. Mindy Kaling did not turn into a movie star.
More TV.
She had more TV.
And author, like writing.
Yeah. And she's a very good writer, by the way, but she hasn't been able to transition either.
I mean, even
like,
Bob's Burgers. Like
Mike Sui is pointing out Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is one of the few names.
Yeah.
One of the few names.
And he wasn't the main character on that show, too.
No, he wasn't at all. He was an afterthought character.
Well, and also, when they pulled him over for that, I'm sure, I mean, fans were like, really? He's going to be in, but also other people, too, were like, okay, he became a star from that movie. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't a star, really, until that movie.
Again, the point is, like, even if you go all the way back to, like, ER, George Clooney. Like, for every one that you can mention that was able to then break out and become a big star in movies, there's 1 to 200 that didn't. I mean, it was a very, very rare thing.
Just want to say Miko's Cyan gifted one Campea membership.
Oh, thank you. You know, I thought I saw a little bit earlier. I think Tor.
So Tor yesterday
did a whole bunch more earlier too.
Tor yesterday gave 10 and then 10 today. So thank you.
All right, what's next?
Okay. Whoa. Sorry, I just covered my screen. Sir Malmston says Disney has greenlit a Space Mountain movie with Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec, Netflix's Cowboy Bebop, tapped to write in the script. Could this work like Pirates of the Caribbean? I mean, Tomorrowland didn't.
Yeah, I mean, look, just because one thing worked doesn't mean anything else in that wheelhouse is going to work, because that's the perfect example. Tomorrowland did not work at all. So I don't know. And by the way, it's not greenlit yet. It's in development. Yeah. Once they got a script, then they'll decide if they'll actually put money behind it to actually make it, but we'll see.
If they're actually in space, I'm there.
If they're in space, I'm there. All right, what's next?
Okay, Rise Jones says, I'm looking forward to the Knuckles series. However, I am surprised that Paramount are dropping all 6 episodes at once. I'm not.
I mean, here's the thing, though. It's not like Fallout. When I think of Knuckles, I don't think of appointment television.
Yeah.
I just something fun and light to watch and drop in and watch at your own pace. Like Fallout, that was a massive mistake. Because you know what? I already stopped hearing people talking about Fallout. And that series is really good.
And I say this, I go back to it every time. It's also merchandising. You can go to get merchandise for Fallout or for Stranger Things for like a week or two. If you're a little late and you want to go get like Stranger Things, it's like no longer relevant and stores aren't selling it. So
that was a mistake for Amazon not to put Fallout as week to week. I think they might correct that for season 2. But for something like Knuckles, that seems like a totally innocuous one that you can just drop all at once. Right. All right, what's next?
Derek Sanchez says, hey crew, hope your day has been well. As I was wondering if I could get your opinion. Do you think Deadpool will reignite the MCU? So how many more Deadpool movies do you think they will do? How many is a big question.
Just like one film will not kill a cinematic universe, one film doesn't fix everything.
Right. Yep.
But it can be a major step towards doing that. I don't hesitate to say Marvel needs Deadpool to be a hit. And when I say a hit, I don't just mean make money. I mean, it needs to go over really, really well with the audience and the critics. If it goes over gangbusters, because remember, they had a win not too long ago with Guardians 3, but that by itself, in isolation, can just be a good step. They need Deadpool because they haven't had a movie this high profile coming out since Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the highest profile movie they've had come out since Spider-Man No Way Home. And considering the state the MCU is in right now, they really need this movie to be great. Now, even if it doesn't fix everything. They need to follow that up with other really good product, but it will be a massive, massive, massive first step. They got to make sure this one's good. No pressure, Ryan, but you better damn well make this one really good.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Jaspreet says, hey crew, I'm kind of getting tired of hearing about the director's cut every time a new Snyder movie comes out. Why can't we just focus on making a good film in the first place?
Because you need excuses. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, yeah, that's because it's not the director's cut.
You didn't see the
It's
real
a
one.
built-in excuse. I am also completely tired of this director's cut nonsense. Just make the damn movie, make it the best movie you can make it. Every filmmaker in history has limitations put on them. Every filmmaker in history have studios that are passing them notes. Just make a great damn movie, the best you can, given the circumstances you have, and then stop making excuses. Well, if I had the director's cut, stop making excuses. Just make great movies, as you have made great movies in the past. Just go on and keep making great movies. All right, what's next?
Callum says, hey guys, I recently watched Alien, Aliens, and Predator for the first time. I really like them. Are the sequels worth watching? Heard they're quite bad. I think you're good where you stopped, personally. Predator 2 wasn't bad.
Well, wait, did they say they saw aliens?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you can
So
stop after that.
So, yeah.
I think you can stop after Predator. After the first one, I think you can stop. Although the
Prey.
Predators was also not so bad. The one with the guy who played Coach Riley.
Yeah.
Adrian Brody.
Adrian Brody.
Brody.
That movie with Adrian Brody, that's not bad. Prey was really good. But with Aliens, you can just stop after the Sigourney Weaver Aliens, the second one. You can stop after that. Hopefully, although I'll tell you what, man, what's the new one called?
Alien
Romulus. They showed us a bunch of footage of Alien Romulus at CinemaCon. And I got to tell you guys, it looks hot. It looks real and thrilling. And this might be the first good Aliens film since Aliens. So here's hoping it does. All right, let's got time for two more. What's next?
Okay. JG says, Taylor Swift becoming a film director. How do you feel about it? Do you think it will still happen?
Yeah, 100% it'll still happen. And she's doing it the right way. She's going to start with a small, more personal kind of movie as her first directorial effort. That's how first-time directors should do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's fine. So yeah, I'm totally fine with her doing that. I mean, whether it'll work or not, we'll see, but she's doing it the right way. A director's first movie should not be X-Men: The Dark Phoenix. I love Simon Kinberg, all due respect, but the fact that Simon Kinberg, who had never directed a movie ever, was making the first movie he directed, this big tentpole comic book movie project, was a mistake. You should never do that, and this is the right way to do it if you're going to be doing it for any director. All right, what's next?
King Daddy Goat says, hey crew, you all think with the Canadian references in Deadpool and Wolverine trailer, they might actually move the release date to July 1st, Canada Day. Wishful thinking, but maybe. Haha, thanks for bringing it up.
Listen, first of all, it did thrill me seeing the CN Tower in it and seeing the Canadian flag in the bar. All that stuff is great. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Canada references because, of course, Ryan Reynolds is Canadian. He says his Deadpool character is from Saskatchewan. From Regina, Saskatchewan. I lived an hour away from that in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan for a while. And of course, Wolverine is Canadian. So
yeah, the Canadian flag in that bar made sense because he's Canadian.
yes, lots of big Canadian references. I said this on the show the other day, and I'm still standing by it. Obviously, I have no insider information. This will probably not happen at all. This is just me making a wild guess, okay? Wild, baseless guess. I will not be surprised if this movie comes out in May. Like, seriously, I won't be surprised. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying I won't be surprised if, like, it's May 15th and Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman get on social media and say, oh, yeah, oh, and by the way, movie's coming out in 3 days. Bye. And they just, like, drop it as a surprise out of nowhere. Because here's the thing. And again, this is totally conspiracy theory nonsense, but how fast did they drop that second trailer after
Pretty
dropping
quick.
the first
It was a
trailer?
little surprising.
That was pretty quick. That movie's still technically speaking, it's still 3 months away, and we've already got 2 trailers out for
I
it.
mean, it'll be a boost to the theater's second quarter.
Yeah, it sure would. Again, it's probably most likely coming out in July, like they said. I'm just saying.
He's just saying.
Here's what's going to happen. If
Just
someday in
saying.
May comes around,
I see Oppenheimer.
if a day comes along in May, here's what's going to happen. If a day comes along in May and this happens,
It's going to be called Mayday.
first of all, everybody's going to say that I already had the insider information that it was going to happen. I do not. I guarantee you I don't, and it's probably not going to happen. I'm just saying, don't
Just
fall out of
saying.
your seat with being shocked if it does. That's all I'm
Just
saying.
saying. That's
Just
it.
saying.
Just
Just
saying.
saying. Isn't that kind of like with all due respect? You talk mad shit on somebody, but if you say with all due respect, then that makes no difference.
You're supposed
But
to
if you
accept it.
talk mad shit and then say, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
just
That's all.
saying.
I'm just saying. All right. What's
All right.
what's next? Last one today. What's next?
Ulatan. Hey, John, have you heard about the Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson match last Sunday at AEW Dynasty? It was one of the greatest professional matches ever to happen in North America. You have to see it when you have time. Nigel was also on fire on commentary.
Nigel's always on fire.
Come
Our
on.
buddy Nigel is, of course, he's dating our one of Ann's best friends, Corey. They've been together for years now. I think like 5-6 years.
Yep.
Nigel's a wonderful dude. Ann actually just went to London with Corey and Nigel, and Ann had some time off work, and she tagged along with them and went to London with them just recently. Nigel's wonderful. He's always no, I have not seen that match. I've not seen it, so I have not, but I've heard other people say it was like a remarkable. I still think my favorite wrestling match of all time is still the Hell in the Cell. It's still Undertaker
Right.
and Mankind, Matt Foley, who we got to meet a couple of months ago.
Foley, yeah.
Mick Foley. What did I say? Did I say Matt
Matt
Foley?
Matt.
Mick
was
Foley.
just a good guy.
Who was at the time under his Mankind
Right.
moniker, not Dude Love, not Cactus Jack, but under his. That is still like to me the most. I'll never forget when I watched that match, man. Like that, I've never been more stunned or anything like that in my life. It, like when he threw him off the cage through the table, and you literally saw his tooth bust through his lip and go up into his nose. And then he got off the stretcher, climbed back up to the top of the cage, and Undertaker chokeslammed him through. By the way, the cage was not supposed to break.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Undertaker chokeslams him on top of the cage, and the cage breaks, and he falls all the way to the bottom mat
Almost on
where
his-
there's a carpet of thumbtacks. So he gets chokeslammed through the. If you guys have never seen the Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell, you gotta watch it. And just remember, this is actually happening to a human being. Other than that, I think the greatest, that's my favorite, but I think the greatest wrestling match I ever saw, it was either WrestleMania 2 or 3 or 4. I was a kid, but it was Ricky Steamboat versus Randy the Macho Man Savage. I still think to this day is the greatest wrestling match I ever
There's a lot
saw.
of people that love that.
So let me.
Oof.
So okay, so his tooth. This is real. Like his tooth actually was an accident and it came through.
No, his tooth was coming out of his nose.
Like in real life. Like
Yeah.
Yes, no, in real life, like they
see him,
they
you see him.
planned.
Yeah, but accidents happen.
They planned for him to get thrown off, which first of all should have been illegal.
Yeah.
But that Undertaker was going to throw Mick Foley from 25 feet up in the air off the top of the
come
cage,
on.
all the way down, not into the ring, but onto the floor beside the ring.
And they got
he was gonna
insurance for this.
Go through a table, right? So they did it, and it busted Mick up bad, including his tooth that went all the way through his lip up into his nose.
do
And
you
you
guys
can
have
see it on camera, right?
Any idea how much they got paid for that match?
It's not enough, whatever
not
it was.
enough.
Would you say
Now-
it was less than $300,000?
It was,
A part of me kind of.
it was probably less than 300,000. But the part that wasn't
caring
scripted,
about this too much.
the part that wasn't scripted was the part where he got choke slammed on the top of the cage and the cage gave way. And
Yeah.
he went, oh, this is after
could've
being
died.
thrown off.
Yeah, he
Could've broken
He
his
could have died. And then when he got up, you see all the thumbtacks in his back. I mean, it was like, oh my God. But it made Mick Foley a legend. He already was a legend, but it like cemented him to God status.
But then you also got to say at what cost.
I mean, at what cost? I mean, there were some things he suffered in that he never fully recovered from.
Yeah.
But it made him a
Man.
legend. All right, what's next?
All right. Amin says, "Did you see Civil War yet? What'd you think?"
Finally got around to seeing Civil War. And what I said on the show the other day, it was not what I was expecting. Like, and people kind of gave me the heads up on this. I went to it expecting it to be a political commentary on the current political temperature in America. And it's not about that at all. That's actually a third, fourth, fifth thought. It is just about really the reality and the horrors of war more than anything else. And that kind of right. It's a very good movie. not as good as I heard the original responses to it, but I thought it was really solid. I enjoyed it. All right, last question. Now this will be the last question of the day. What's
Okay,
next?
Culture Wars Diplomacy says, streaming has allowed the world to more easily get their hands on foreign gems in film.
Yes.
Other than obvious ones like Doctor Who, what are some gems worth checking out of non-USA TV?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
TV, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if this would count, but I really like Slow Horses, which is a British production on Apple TV.
Right.
But it's not
But
like
that's an Apple TV
exactly
thing, right?
So-
It's not like it was hidden for years over on another network. So the only one I can think of is Killing Eve, but I don't remember if that was originally shown in America before being on the BBC or if it was also originally launched on BBC America. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure. It's a good question. I was just thinking this, Jonathan Garcia. I was just thinking of this one. The IT Crowd. That's one that really jumps up to me if that's a four. That and Faulty Towers, but Faulty Towers came over before streaming. But it was the IT Crowd. It was the era of streaming that let me get caught up and watch the IT Crowd. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here, making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions, both our beloved YouTube channel members and, of course, those of you who use Super Chat. Number one, because you gave us interesting things to talk about, but number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget to come on back and join us tomorrow. It'll be me, Jonathan, Ray, and Rob will be in here tomorrow. We're looking forward to seeing you then. So for Ray Ora,
See you later.
Jonathan Voico,
See you guys.
my name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.